everybody, it's Will. I'm back with another episode of Creators Outlet right here on the Outright Geekery Network. And we're joined today by our special guest, Will Claigan.
Hey, how we doing? It's good to be here.
How you doing, brother?
I'm blessed, man. How about yourself? Thanks for having me. I appreciate you having me on the show.
I'm coffeeed.
Yeah.
And
I got
I can see a whole... I need the water to make the coffee, so...
See, we're not too far apart. There you go.
I see a whole bunch of cool collectibles behind you.
Yeah, we're in my studio. This is my refuge, my messy
the man cave.
Well, except it ain't got nothing man in it. It's all toys. I'm a boy. I'm a little boy, You know, that's what you end up doing is growing up and then getting all the toys you wanted when you were a kid. And I mean, that's
or you go back and buy all the toys you had that your parents or your grandparents got rid of in a yard sale where you were gone at school or in the service or whatever.
Yeah, it just never goes away. It's like, dude, I got toys sitting in my floor that I haven't even. I mean, if you could see my floor, it's crazy. And my wife, it drives her crazy because she's a neat freak and she hates going towards my office because I don't know if it's an artist thing. I don't know what it is, but like I kind of live in chaos. It looks like stuff is everywhere, but I know exactly where everything is. So if you moved it, and I tried to find it after you moved it, I wouldn't know where it's at. Like if you tried to put it in, or if you tried to organize it and actually did a good job organizing, I'd still lose it. I'd be like, well, I had it where I wanted it. So, yeah, I mean, it's a mess. I will say I do need to clean it up some, but I'm running out of room, man. It's like I get all these, I buy a bunch of Kickstarter indie books because I try to support indie guys. And I have a ton of art books, and I'm just running out of place and toys, of course. And I'm running out of space, man. It's like, what do you do? Like, what do you do with the stuff? It's like, I don't know. I'm gonna have to and I hate rotating stuff in and out because once you rotate it out, you'll be sitting there going, man, I wish I had that toy sitting over there. Why did I move that out? Why did I pack it up? Now I got to go all the way back out to the shed and get it out, bring it out here, and I don't know. Maybe that's just me being lazy too.
Well, I'm like Jones, and I'm like, oh man, I wish they would quit fighting in Washington and send those stimulus checks out.
Man, they ain't ever.
I got a toy. I'm a huge Planet of the Apes fan.
Yeah, and
I had a lot of the Migos and the play sets and various other action figures from, the 70s, early 80s stuff. But I never had any of the Migo Planet of the Apes figures or play sets. And I always wanted them. But my friend down the street, his little brother had them.
Wow. So I always wanted the plastic Migo Batcave. You remember it?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid, that's what I wanted. And you just never could find it where we lived. And my mom even went searching for it, and she just never could find it. Like, it was just, and of course, back then, you couldn't order anything.
Yeah, there was no interweb. There wasn't even a thought of the interweb back then. So,
and it now they sell it, though. You can buy it. But, man, it's like I want to say it's like $125. And it's nothing but cardboard.
Yeah. Cardboard and plastic.
Yeah. It's like, dude, this thing is not worth $125. I mean, I want it, but it's not worth $125. It's like, come on, man. You're playing on us old folks that now have money, and this is what we want. It's like you said, you wanted the Planet of the Apes thing. Mm-hmm. They're gonna jack the price up because they know you have that nostalgia love for it. And because remember the Star Trek playset?
I've still got that. I've still got the Enterprise. I've got an original Enterprise. I'm missing
the teleporter.
With the transporter in it.
Yeah, you hit the button and it stops, and man, that was awesome. That was awesome. That was great toys back then, though, man.
I bought that probably about 25, 30 years ago. I bought that for $99 off a guy on eBay.
Wow.
Came with, I think, five original Mego figures, and the entire bridge was complete. The chairs, the center console, Kirk's chair, but it was missing, I think, one of the little slide things that would hang up to be like the scene on the planet they were, supposed to be going around.
I wonder if they had to remake that thing. Like, it's got to be.
I don't think they've remade it yet, but Mego's back, and because I got to meet Marty Abrams last November. I was covering the Rhode Island Comic-Con for Outright Geekery. And, I got to hang out with a bunch of cool people last year. I was hanging out with Neil Adams, Mike Grell, Graham Nolan, Bill McKay, Marty Abrams, Dr. Mego, talking to all those guys. So I found out last year about them, the deal that they had put together with CBS, because when they came back, they were like, well, we want to bring back some of our old line. And the Star Trek line was basically, the Star Trek and the superheroes were the two biggest things they ever did.
Well, yeah. So what other? I know they had the Planet of the Apes one, but
yeah,
I don't really remember them having another line, like another lineup. I know the superhero one was like everywhere.
Yeah. They had Happy Days.
Really?
They had the old Happy Days line. They had a one shot with Sven Gulli, the horror guy, the horror host of the bad horror B movies there, and a few others. But when they came back, they had Star Trek, they had Bewitched, they had Charmed. Every old TV show they were putting figures out for, and I'm like, who's gonna? I can see certain ones like the 2-pack of Bewitched. I can see that, and a couple other.
I heard some Wizard of Oz ones. Like
they
did Wizard of Oz, and we bought, and these were actually pretty new. We got them at Target not 6 months ago, maybe 7 months ago.
Yeah, when they first came back.
I'm a big Wizard of Oz fan, and when I saw, I was like, "You ain't gonna find these everywhere. Like, you might as well get them now, because because they were pretty expensive too, man. They weren't cheap for like two. It wasn't but $2, but the packaging is about that big.
Oh yeah, it's like the diamond square and the two figures in the front. It's like nice.
It's a nice little package.
It's like $30.
Yeah, I want to say we paid something like $45 for it, and I was just kind of like, well, first off, it's Target. Ain't nothing cheap in Target. You're gonna pay. It ain't Walmart, that's for sure. So
they look what they do. Well, Walmart now has the Migos.
Really?
Yeah, he's got. They're in the collectible section. They're in the collectible aisle. So you have to go over by where the electronics is, and usually to the they have the well, it's what they call the pop aisle, which is supposedly the collectible aisle, and there was pretty much nothing else in the collectible aisle. You'd have some of the high end Mezcos, but they don't make any toys for kids anymore. They're like, well, all these older people, they like collecting this crap.
Well, that's it.
Let's just jack all the prices up, and I'm like, some of it's ridiculous, but they were like smaller, like 6-inch plastic Planet of the Apes figures, kind of like almost like the Black Series Star Wars figures.
Huh?
They were like that, but they were on blister cards. These came out probably like about 5 to 7 years ago, at least. But this guy, he bought a toy collection off a guy, and he's selling them all. He's got the entire collection of Planet of the Apes that this one company did. It's the full run, one of every figure. And he said the full set's going for like $600-700 on eBay. Wow. And he was looking for $5. There's going to be like 30-40 figures in there. You figure, they're at least, nowadays they'd be like, $25 a pop.
Yeah, I don't know why action figures have went up so high in price.
Because it's a collectible market. So the producers of the product know it's a collectible market. So like, oh well, yeah, the price of everything has gone up. I go, no, it hasn't. I go, you send all this stuff out to China.
Yeah, ain't none of that stuff cost that to make, man.
It doesn't cost $25 to make a figure. What it is when
if it cost them $2 a figure, I'd be surprised. Maybe $3 if you cost shipping. I don't know.
Well, if you count in what they have to pay the artists to do the art for the cards, the full packaging, the figure, the accessories, and everything, and the labor it takes to on the line to place them together, or if it's like all automated, depending on what it is. Yeah, I don't think when they make like a big line like that, I don't think it's cost. What's it going to cost them? Like $5 for the figure?
Well, I don't even think it cost them that. Well, look at Legos. Legos is the biggest ripoff going because Legos, they're fully automated. I mean, they don't pay anybody. Like, they charge what, $60-70 for the small sets now. I guess they're not the small sets. I guess they're considered the medium-sized sets. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it ain't nothing but plastic blocks. I mean, that's all I've got one of the Voltrons back here, the Lego Voltron, and it was something like $250 for it. I didn't pay for it. Somebody bought it for me because I was like, man, I ain't paying $250 for a freaking, a bunch of blocks. I mean, that's crazy. That's no.
$250. I want it life size and working.
Well, now I will say it's a pretty good. It's a nice size. It's pretty big, but I mean, like I said, it ain't worth. Dude, you and I both know it probably cost them $10 to make the whole thing and pay for the license. And now, of course, mine's not even out of the box. I haven't even taken it out of the wrappers or anything like that. So secondary market on it because you can't buy them anymore. Like most of them are sold out. So basically, you can't just go to a Lego shop and walk in and buy the Voltron. I mean, you might be able to find it online still, but you give it about 3 or 4 more years, you won't be able to find it at all except on eBay. And there ain't no telling how much people will charge for it coming in.
Well, there's such a big upcharge on eBay because or should I say FeeBay? Because I mean, they offer that relist thing because I had a bunch of various comics that I had up there, and of course the only comics that sell on eBay are key issues. So if it's not a key issue, don't put it on eBay because nobody's going to buy it.
Well, comics don't sell that much nowadays anyways. Like, if it ain't like when we first got into comics, there was a value in like the older issues. But when the 90s hit and they were producing 1 million copies of every book, you pretty much flooded or saturated the market to where comics was pretty much nothing but paper, and now I don't even think comics is worth the paper it's printed on because, these companies are producing stuff that's just crap to begin with. I don't know who they're selling it to. I haven't figured that out yet, but
Me.
They don't look for artists anymore that's going to be breakout artists, that are going to do something outside of like a house style. They're looking for guys that are conformity, that conform to the movie likeness.
Oh yeah, they want everything now. Comics is nothing but an IP to turn into a Hollywood property.
Right. That's all it's turned into. And basically, and I'm going to tell you, yesterday, I went through 200 samples, easily 200. And out of those 200 samples, there might have been 3 artists that I actually remembered, because everybody else was doing the exact same thing. Like, it was just all, there was nothing to it. It was not art. It was like commercial art. It was like, it was all, there was no life to it. There was no energy. There was nothing. It was just, and that's not good for the art form. Like, I'm kind of worried about the art form, really, because, we don't have a bunch of new talent like flooding the market like it was back in the 90s. You could go to a convention and there would be tons of people trying to get into comics. I can't even tell you how many portfolios I looked through when I was, back in the 90s and early 2000s. You just don't find it now. Like, if you sit up at shows, you very seldom get people showed portfolios. Like, you just don't have a whole lot of artists that are looking to, and part of it is there's not a whole lot of pay in it anymore. Even if you're working for Marvel or DC, dude, you're not making a whole lot of money. Not for the amount of work you're doing. It's just not there.
No, you got to hope that you come in with, well, minus the big two nuts there that are just rehashing the same thing over and over again. Even like the smaller companies, everything they're doing is either for the toy line, and Todd's got, the Todd father has the toy line for everybody now.
Yeah, I think the problem is people aren't making comics to make comics anymore.
No.
When I first got into comics, it was because I loved doing comics. People used to ask me, because when I first got into comics, I've always been an independent guy. Like, that was just all I ever wanted to do was independent comics, like doing my own characters and doing my own IPs. And I would hear it all the time. It'd be like, "Well, are you just using comics to get into movies?" And I would always say, I could care less about movies. If I want to make a movie, I could go make a movie. It's not that hard to make a movie nowadays as it is. You can do just about the same as making a comic. Why waste your time making a comic and just put that money into doing your movie and make it? You understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't see how it's a stepping stone anymore. I know a lot of writers, and I know a ton of writers that do this. They'll say, well, it's a lot easier for me to sell an IP if I have something in my hand and I can show it to them and say, here, this is what it looks like. And the producers will look at it, and that way they don't have to think about it in their heads. The producers don't actually have to imagine anything. They can actually see what a product is. So there's a lot of those writers who create comics just to do that, which, if you're going to do that, that's fine. But why do you need to make a whole comic? And why do you need to flood the market, like the comic book market, making something you're not really trying to sell as a comic? You're just trying to build as a
movie property.
Yeah, as a movie product. And I just think it cheapens the medium as a whole. We don't, Well, look where it's led us. I mean, look where we're at now. I mean, I don't have to, I don't really have to say much about it. All you have to do is really look at the industry now and see, we lack any kind of creativity anymore. I mean, I can't even, I could probably count on my hand new products that are even worth even looking at, that I know about. That's not saying there ain't a ton of independent guys, because I will say, dude, I've never seen a time when independent comics has gotten as big as it is now, ever. I mean, when I was first doing it, dude, there wasn't but about 10 of us. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you had the Dark One. I don't know if you ever remember him. He did a book called Animal Mystic, and this was way back in the 90s. Late 90s. He's passed away now, but he was in the late. And then you had Drew Hayes that was doing Poison Elves. You had Trent Kanuga, who was doing Creed, and you had a bunch of smaller little. Because even back then, small publishers, it was so expensive to print. You couldn't do it. You couldn't do a whole lot of independent things. Not like now. You got print on demand, and so if you have an idea, you can put it up on Kickstarter, and all you got to raise is $600 or $700, and you've paid for the print cost. So, it's nothing like it was back in the trench days when you had to really.
Before the interweb.
Yeah, you really had to love what you were doing and low crawl through the trenches and really love doing independent comics, because back then we got no love back then. I mean, dude, I was actually with a big studio back then, so it wasn't like I wasn't known or anything like that, but it was still the fact I was doing independent work. You'd be surprised at like how pros would treat you, even though you knew the pros. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like we didn't know each other. It was just the fact of, I don't know, man. It was really weird. There was a level of, well, you're not really a pro. You're doing. You're not work, so you're not
working for Marvel or DC. Yeah. You're just one of the little people.
Yeah, and trust me, I got treated that way by a lot of people. Like, a lot. It was, and I'm talking big name guys, and it was just like, I don't know. It was weird. It was a weird time. Because, like I said, the guys I hung out with were pretty big name guys in the industry. And I guess I was kind of the odd man out, and it wasn't that I couldn't work with these other guys, because they could have got me in if I'd have asked them to. Like, hey, because it's all about who you know. It ain't got nothing to do with talent. All right, if I know somebody who knows an editor, and I say, hey man, give this dude a job, he needs a break, well, the odds are that editor's going to turn right around and give that person a job. So back then it was even worse back then, because you didn't have the internet. The only thing you had was word of mouth. So if you really knew somebody, it was you pat my back, I pat your back type of thing back then. So, I could have probably gotten work back then if I'd have went to the studio guys and said, hey, I really want to at least write one story for Marvel or one story for DC or blah blah whatever. But I never had a desire. I still don't. I still have no desire to work for any of those guys. And I've done work for Marvel, and I've done work for Image, and I've done work for Upper Deck, and I've been all. The only person I haven't worked with is DC. That's the only company I haven't done anything with. And the funny thing is, I never sought work from any of them. Like, I I don't think it means anything because there's so many people. Dude, they have so many people that work for them. It's like, and you won't remember half. You won't even remember 20 of them. I mean, really, truthfully, do you realize how many artists have been published by DC alone this year?
Yeah, I mean, hundreds.
Take a guess. Like, I mean, at least 200 easy. And out of those 200, how many do you remember?
None.
Exactly. That's my point. It's like it's a falsehood. You get this idea that if you can get published, you made it. Hey, I made it. Woo, I'm a big deal now. But that was my hardship, was when I first got published. When I was actually done. A company I thought, man, I finally made it. I was like, man, now these guys are going to stop looking at me as independent guy and blah, blah, blah. Now I got credits and blah. Man, it didn't change nothing. And that was the biggest letdown, because it really messed with me, because it was just one of those things where I was like, man, what am I doing this for? like what, there's no big payoff. It's not a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's one of those things where you find the end of the rainbow, but guess what? There's another rainbow, and you got to keep chasing it, because that's all there is. Like, that's all you're doing is chasing the carrot, man. You're the donkey, and the carrot's right there, and you're just going to keep chasing it. And even if you catch it, they'll just put another carrot out there. Like, it's not.
Well, I like carrots. That's okay.
Yeah, if you like carrots, then that's a good deal. But it was just.
I think a lot of people like I had Scott Hanner on the other month, and yes, I actually remember him. Chances are, if you've bought any mainstream comics in the last 20 years, you've got a slew of books that he did finishes on, and sometimes, full art. But the way he talked about it, he goes, things fell into his lap. Somebody gave him a break at Marvel, and he was on Spider-Man for like the longest time. And then, he caught a break over at DC, and Bob Harris, who sadly got the chopping block the other week when they cut 30% of their editorial staff.
It's gonna get worse before it gets better. I can tell you that. I mean,
I love Jim Lee, the person and the talent, but he's just a corporate puppet now.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's not. They all live in their own glass chambers, man. It's like they again. I go back to you no longer push creativity. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's not what's pushed anymore in the industry. Like back when Jim, and that's kind of what's sad about Jim Lee, is because back when Jim Lee was around, that's what was pushed, which, hey, we want an artist who stands out. If they'd have never pushed Jim Lee that way, you'd have never had Image, and Jim Lee would never be where he is today. But it's like, he's just the opposite. Like, he doesn't do the same thing that was done for him. It's just really weird. I don't know. And it's the same thing with like Joe Quesada. I used to say that when Joe Quesada was running Marvel, hands-on Marvel. I mean, he's still running Marvel, but you understand what I'm saying. Like, because he was the first one who said, we want a house style. We want everybody to draw exactly the same way, and it's going to be this movie likeness, realistic stuff. And everybody's going to be able to go into this was his words, he said everybody's going to go into a comic shop and they can pick up any Marvel book and they'll be sure that it's still going to look the same from any other book. And it was just like, that's a bad idea. That's not good. That's not for an art. It's not. Like, if you're doing.
That's not art. That's conformity.
Yeah, that's not art at all. I don't know. It's a really bad. It's a really bad way to run a company that you're catering to artists. And I'm saying that even with writers, I know for me, whenever I script a book, I feed off of what the artist does. If the art sucks, then odds are I'm not gonna script it as well as I could if I was excited about the art. And that was kind of what I was talking to you earlier. Like I went through those 200 submissions, and it was just like these guys were using techniques that they didn't know how to use. Like they were using, they were dropping blacks, and they were using feathering, and they were using cross hatching, but they didn't understand why these techniques existed. Back in the day, they existed because of the way print was. Okay. You don't even have to use feather and cross hatching now because of the way coloring has advanced and print has advanced. It's so much different. You don't have, I'm not saying not to use the technique, but I'm saying it's not used for the same thing as it was back then. And a lot of times these artists will look at people like Neil Adams and Al Williamson and Bernie Wrightson and some of these older guys that really knew how to drop blacks and use darks, and they'll try to emulate them, but they don't know how these guys are actually, they don't know why they're actually doing what they're doing. They just look at it and go, man, this is cool, and they try to emulate it, and it doesn't work out the same. And it comes across as muddy. And I'm sure you've seen like pieces that'll come to you and it'll look muddy. You'll just go, why does this look so? I can't. It's almost like you go, I can't put my finger on it. It just looks muddy. And that's usually what it is they're using techniques that they don't know they don't know the medium. They just don't understand. And that's what I'm saying is we're not raising artists anymore in the industry that actually understand the medium. Artists.
They're pushing all the artists with the pretty popular style, but I have yet to see one of these guys do something called sequential art, because they're too good to do anything but a cover they get paid big money for, so then they can sit in a long line at a convention and get $25 to $50 a whack every time they sign it.
Doing sequential stuff, man, that's such a lost art form. I don't even know where to start with that. Like people don't even understand the basics of foreground, background, pacing, gutter space. Like they don't even understand what gutter space is. Like you say gutter space and they look at you like you're stupid. Like, and to me, it's one of those things where I'm like, man, when I first got into comics, my idea was to learn everything about comics. Why it functioned, how it functioned, why you did this, why you did that. In my studio, I was blessed enough to where I worked with pencilers, inkers, and colorists. I studied under all of them. Like I didn't just go, man, I'm gonna be a penciler, so I'm gonna study my pencils. No, I went to my inker and I was like, teach me how to ink too, and then then I went to my colorist and was like, teach me how to color. I want to know all of it. So I know, and only that too, I always felt like if you're gonna sit behind the table and you're gonna critique people, you need to know what you're talking about. Like don't critique, because I have been around so many artists that will critique something and have no idea what they're critiquing. Like they're blowing smoke.
They're repeating bullet points.
Yeah, it's like you're not even really. I can tell you, your anatomy needs work. If you hear this right here, then you're listening to an artist that has the. And I'm not saying the anatomy don't need work, but I'm saying this is at least the top three I always hear. Your anatomy needs work. your panel to panel transition needs work, and your pacing's off. Now, does that tell an artist anything that he need? I mean, that doesn't tell. Now, you might be able to understand about the anatomy thing, but the transition from panel to panel and your pacing, those are storytelling elements that unless you know something about comics, you're not gonna. It's gonna be like me talking to a wall, you know. Unless you're a storyboard artist, you might know then. You go, yeah, okay, yeah, all right. But I mean, just a normal guy who's trying to get into comics, unless he studied how to get into comics, he wouldn't have any idea what you're talking about. Like, well, what does that even mean? What does it mean to transition from one panel to the other? What does pacing mean? You know, pacing is timing. What does that mean? What does it mean to have timing in comics? Dude, you don't have any kind of pacing in comics anymore, dude. I mean, it's so choppy. I mean, it's really bad. Like, and that goes back to the art of storytelling. Like, it's getting. I'm worried. I'm really worried about the industry. Like, I'm really worried about what's going to happen in 10 years. Like, I don't know. Man, I don't know if we'll have artists doing comics in 10 years. I just don't see the fluctuation of people coming in. Because first off, most people can make more money doing character designs for you know, games, or you can do storyboarding for Hollywood, any kind of, you know, TV or commercials, or I mean, dude, I can make a buttload more money doing storyboards than I ever could doing comics. I mean, I literally could sit down and do storyboards for a day and make as much in a day as I do a whole month doing comic book stuff. And that ain't even counting character designs. Character designs even are, you know, I can draw one character and make $5,000, you know, and that take me not even half a day, you know, a couple hours. So why, if you're going to make $5,000 doing something that takes you 2 hours, why would you want to do something that's you're only going to make $150 on for working 8-9 hours a day on a page? And it's a hard sell to these kids, man. They don't. You know, back in the days, we loved comics. You know, that was the point we did it. You know, I can't even tell you how much free work I did back in the day. I mean, Lord knows. I hear people all the time go, you got to get paid for everything you do. You better make sure you get paid. Paid. But, dude, you know, back when I first got in, getting published meant something. You know, even though, you know, it didn't have a high value. It just showed that you could do the work, you know, and editors back then would look at things a little bit harder if you showed that you'd already done work before. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah.
So there was a value to doing some work for free. You know, it wasn't just, oh, you're getting screwed because you're not making any money. No. Not only that, I learned more about the process. See, it was almost like an internship, you know, like I learned about comics. And now these kids don't want to learn about comics. And dude, there are a lot of artists out there who think they're published level and they aren't. And they think they should be making like $150, $200 a page. And it's like, dude, man, I wouldn't pay you $20 a page. It's like, first off, people have to understand it's a business. You're only worth what I can make off of you. That's the bottom line. I'm not trying to be ugly to anybody. I'm not trying to, you know, you can't come at me, well, my time is worth, no, your time might be that valuable to you, but I'm talking about the consumer. And I'm talking about the people who's going to put money back in my pocket so I can keep paying people to do work, you know, and your value comes from them, not from me. Like that's where it's the business aspect comes into play. And a lot of time these guys, because they don't have a name, like you don't even know some of these guys. And I have to admit, like back in the day, I built my name up. You know, it was like Will Callaghan, yeah, I've heard of that dude. Yeah, Will Callaghan. I know because I went to every show. I set up with the studio. I met people. I built a fan base. I had value. There wasn't just you're getting Will Callaghan. You're getting Will Callaghan and the 200 people who are supporting him. Whereas nowadays, these young artists, they don't think like that. And of course, they think, well, if I got 5,000 friends on Facebook, then I'm popular. And that's the biggest lie going. I mean, it's just.
Well, one of my favorite things I used to like saying to these cocky girls, you're like, so what do? I'm a model. Okay, if Instagram shut down tomorrow, what would you be doing? Taking a bunch of pictures of yourself and posting them online does not make you a model.
No. Well, see, that's exactly it right there.
It makes you a narcissistic bitch.
Right. That's exactly it right there. It's like that's the whole problem right there. It's what, look, just because you get 15 likes on a sketch you did 2 days ago does not mean those 15 people are going to go out and buy something from you because it has your picture. No, that's not the way it works. Okay. See, my reputation comes from, I have this many sales. I've done this much. I've done this books. These books have sold. This is sold. This is sold. Blah. That's where my weight comes in. When you come at me with like, well, I got 15 people on Facebook who like my stuff, so I must be doing something right. Dude, no. See, that's where we live in a world of fantasy, man. You, and I'm not trying to downplay the support you get from Facebook and that kind of thing. But what I am saying is a lot of times people will exaggerate that help to where they really in their head thinks it's more than what it really is. Like they think it's the real world.
These are platforms and tools for you to get your message out to the general public and hopefully spread it around. And the more people that see it, the more people. If 2,000 people see, for example, this.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's cool. What's that from? And then Will tells us about his book that's for sale right now on Amazon.
Yeah, Gun Ghoul, man. I guess that's my big claim to fame now. I don't know. It was all 4 issues were like #1 on Amazon for over a month. I mean, it was outselling books like what is it, Key and Lock?
Lock and Key.
Lock and Key, and Lady Death and Vampirella. And it stayed there for over a month. It did really well. Like I don't. It has such a huge. And the funny thing, a true story about this character. I did this design as a warm-up sketch one day, and I posted it on DeviantArt. And back then, I was kind of one of the I don't want to say bigger name guys, comic book guys on DeviantArt, but I was kind of in that clique. You know what I'm saying? Like, anyways.
Like in the group of top tier guys on
DeviantArt. Yeah. And not that I was top tier or anything like that. It was just how I fell in the clique. Don't ask me why, because I couldn't ever tell you why. But the character design just took off, man. It was and I thought nothing of it. Like it never had a story or anything like that. And it was just a warm-up little 5-minute sketch, man. And I just kept getting pestered on DeviantArt. Like, man, when are you going to do a story? When are you going to do a story? When are you going to do it? And finally, I was just like, oh, my God, shut up, man. I'll do it. And that's how it came about. It would have never happened if I hadn't been pressured by the fan base back then to do it. But it obviously resonates somehow within the fan base. I think a lot of it has to do with it's kind of got that lady death and the horror vibe to it. I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't tell you why anybody likes anything I do. And I'm being honest with you. I don't know why anybody likes any of the stuff I do. So when people tell me they like something of mine, I just kind of, yeah, okay, because I don't get it. But
yeah, don't worry about it. He sucks.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm just it's weird for me because again, I go back to me, this character was nothing more than something I'd have thrown away. I wouldn't even. It was on like a little piece of typing paper that I just happened to have on my drawing board that I just doodled it on. But I mean, it was a pretty finished piece when I did it. But it was still one of those things. It was just kind of like, I didn't even have a name for the character to begin with. I just kind of put up, here's a random character I did. And then I even put it in the description. I was like, I might call it Gun Ghoul. I don't know. Sounds kind of cool. I don't know. And then everybody was like, oh my God, that's the coolest thing ever. Blah, blah. And I mean, my point to this is you just never know what's really going to excite people. Like this was not, because I was not focusing on this character at all. I was focused on like 2 other books I had going on at the time, and I was trying to push it. One was called Outlaw Angel, and the other one was called Tech Lore. And I couldn't get any kind of traction with the other 2, except the Tech Lore. The Tech Lore had some because it has kind of a sci-fi fantasy mix to it, so it had its own little niche. But not like this. Like I said, the Gun Ghoul thing, I guess that's what I'm going to end up being known for by the end of the day. By the time it's all said and done, this will be the character that marked me as whatever, which I'm fine with. I mean, I'm glad people like something I did. That's always a positive thing. It's like I said, it's just weird to me that out of all the characters I spent all this time on, like, you have to know what I'm talking. Like, you spend all this time on creating something, and you're like, "Oh my God, this is going to be the greatest thing ever." And then this one thing you didn't even spend 5 minutes on turns out to be, the golden egg that the goose laid.
Yeah.
Kind of like, well, it's just weird. I mean, I love the character. Don't get me wrong, I love it, and I love the design. I think I happened to just hit something that was, I don't know. You tell me. You're looking at it. It's to me because I'm so.
It's a cool design. It's got like a little bit of a manga feel to it, and reminds me of a cross between Ghost from Dark Horse.
I used to love that book.
Oh yeah. Book. And the
somebody said that.
Yeah, the white of the uniform and the dual guns make me think of Ghost, but the way the head looks reminds me of Scud. Remember Scud?
I used to love Scud too, way back in the day, man. See, that's another small indie guy back in the day that was actually doing independent books, and you couldn't hardly ever find those books either. And he was popular, man. Scud was like big,
I probably have like 1 or 2 issues in my collection, and that's my big thing. I'm trying to, because being disabled and everything, I'm in a bunch of programs, but before this happened to me, and we were talking about this pre-show, but a buddy of mine that I worked with at the club was nice enough to take all my comics and all my collectibles, clothes, like a whole slew of stuff, all my daughter's stuff, and pack it up from I was renting my friend's house at the time, like this big condo, nice yard and everything, because my daughter was young then. And he packed it up and he brought it next state over to his house, and he's got like one of those long storage cubicles that sits like in his backyard because he repairs and resells bicycles on the side. So, but you know, now all my stuff's in the way, so he can't get to his bicycles. It's all packed into his garage, into the rafters of his garage, you know, everywhere. So I'm like trying to get it back. And every time I've tried to make arrangements to get it back, either because I'm in Mass and he's in Rhode Island, so either Rhode Island shuts down and be like, nobody from out of state can come here. Why? Because of the COVID? Yeah, that and Donald Trump's still president. Oh, okay.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Some crap going on, dude. I'm gonna tell you right now, I never thought I'd live in a time we're living in. It's beyond me. I remember a time when politics wasn't in everything. You remember that? Like, it was just you voted and that was it. You know, it wasn't a lifestyle. Now it seems like everybody's branded Republican or Democrat. You know, that's your lifestyle. Like that's who you are, you know. And it's one of those things where it's like, man, first off, every politician's a liar. I mean, I ain't met one that hadn't lied to you. And I ain't met one that ain't tried to steal every dime you got, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't trust any of them. And for me, I don't like being labeled a Republican or Democrat because, like I said, I don't trust either side. Both of them are just as crooked as the other side. If you allowed them, like if you allowed them to do it, they'll do it, you know. And I don't have a problem with Trump. I think people hate him just to hate him. Like I think the media has played in.
Oh yeah,
it's like I don't think it's bad as everybody makes him.
I asked a question on my personal page the other week. If you're voting for Joe Biden, give me one reason that doesn't say Orange Man bad.
Oh yeah, that doesn't exist.
And it's all, you know, no.
Well, I
hate him. Oh, because you were programmed to hate him? Because he actually came through with promises that he promised before he got elected in?
Well, yeah, and you know, I hear he's a racist all the time. Like to me, that's the big argument I get is like, well, he's just a racist. He hates people. And I don't see it. Like, I'm just kind of like, dude, he's gotten more black people out of prison than any other freaking president. He's done more for black colleges than any other freaking president. If he was racist, why would he do these things? Like, well, I don't understand. Yeah. I don't understand the logic behind some of the stuff that's like.
I saw a news piece years and years ago when Rosa Parks was still living, and it was some award ceremony, and he was standing right by Rosa Parks.
Well, he won the award. He won the Rosa Parks Award.
Yeah, and she was right there presenting it to him.
So I don't. It's like I don't. To me, I don't understand that kind of. Yeah, to me, it's just again.
Yeah, it's all BS because before he ran for president,
everybody loved him.
They were all his friends.
Yeah, then nobody hate him, and to me, look. Again, I go back to, I remember a time when politics was not your end all be all of life. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't have to tell everybody who I voted for, you know, like that was not even part of the conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't remember before Facebook where we all just sit around going, well, I'm going to divide myself up into Republican and Democrat. Like when you went to your job, you didn't go, all right, I'm only going to hang out with my Republican friends over here. You Democrat friends, you need to go over there. You're not really my friends. We never did that. Like it was just never, that was never a.
It's all identity politics now.
Well, and that stuff's stupid, man.
It's all identity politics and culture wars.
Thanks for posting that picture up too, by the way. That was a great one to pull up. That's one of my favorite gun goal ones.
Oh yeah, because I was going around. So if you're looking now in the chat, of course, we've got our sponsor for this video, SpinWiz Comics, who I'm going to talk about in just a moment. There's a link for SpinWiz Comics at the top. Next link down is actually a link for Gun Ghoul on Amazon.com.
Yay, go buy it. Help us out. We're independent guys. We love doing good stories. You ain't got to take my word for it, too. You can look at all the
Gun Ghoul has zounds of 5-star reviews written up on Amazon. Go read.
Ain't that crazy?
I'm like, wow.
I'm shocked myself. Like I'm always waiting for the one person to get on there to blow me up. Like, oh my God, this thing sucks. Who was it that created this crappy thing? But I it's crazy. It's like I'm very blessed that it was accepted the way it was.
And if you've never heard of Gun Ghoul, get over to Amazon and buy and read the best comic you never heard of.
Man, yeah, if you ain't heard of it, then I ain't doing my job right. Like I failed somewhere. Like, man, I'm gonna have to get out more or something, because it used to be everywhere, literally. Back in the day, when DeviantArt was pretty big, it was a whole lot easier for artists to get like your products out to people, because you could get other artists, to draw your character, and then it would pop up on their friends list as well as your friends list, and it just got
cross-pollination.
Yeah, you got that cross-pollination thing, and it was a lot better on DeviantArt than it is Facebook for whatever reason. I don't know why, but you could get things to really blow up on DeviantArt. It wouldn't take much of nothing, 4 or 5 artists, and you're all over the place. I wished it was still that way over there, but DeviantArt's kind of died. But man, that was the greatest. That was where you could really, marketing wise, that was a great marketing tool back then. That's probably where I made the majority of my money when I was first getting into doing art. And man, I can't tell you how many independent comic covers I did, and pinups, and man, good, great. But again, that went all back to DeviantArt. Back then, there was such a huge comic book base back then. Like now, I think it's turned more into, I don't want to say manga, because they're not really doing manga. They're doing like these little screenshot anime pics, where they do just one illustration, and that's pretty much all they do. They're not doing any kind of storytelling or anything like that.
It's like, here, look at my sketch.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like it's not like, dude, it's not like,
and they're like, oh, cool, next.
Yeah, it's not like it used to be. There was so much energy. Again, it goes back to what I kind of said in the very beginning. Back in the day, the artists had so much energy, and there was just so much, fluctuation between artists. Like, you might like my style, but my style was so much different from so-and-so style. It was just night and day, and you just don't see that anymore. Like, you don't see that kind of, even on Facebook, you don't see that kind of stuff. Like, I really, dude, I bet I could count on my hand how many people draw kind of in the same style I do. I mean, it ain't, and that's mainly because, I do more animated, cartoony type stuff. But the industry has went so heavily on the realistic style and realistic, which I don't really understand why they went that way. It is what it is. To me, you're working in a medium where you can do anything. Okay, you're only hampered by your imagination. Why do you want to draw things to look exactly like real life? Why? Like, what? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, it's cool. It's cool for a little while, but it's only cool to the point where, like, I've read some books where I really hated the art, but by the end, it grew a little bit on me because you can feel that niche in there where the art actually fits the words around it.
Well, now, yeah, I mean that's a tough thing, man. Is actually find. But see, that goes back to writers working with artists and understanding the medium. And I go back with writers too. Have you seen that one thing that's going around that Bendis wrote? I think it was for Legion of Superheroes or something like that. It was a splash page and it had a head of Brainiac. But dude, it had this much word balloons in it. Like the word balloons took up more space than the actual art.
It's like, don't even get me started on Bendis.
I was like, but see, this is a fail, okay? If you're a writer,
it's an epic fail.
If you're a writer and you're writing for comics, you need to understand the art is there to tell a story, okay? That's part of your mechanism, okay? That it's not just words as a writer. Like, that's not just your mechanism is writing the script, okay? That it's telling the whole story, like telling the artist, hey, do a bird's eye view right here because I'm trying to imply power or fear or whatever, okay? That's the point. And it's like, and when you do stuff like what Bendis did on that page, it's like you're not respecting the medium. You're if he wants to write a novel, write a freaking novel. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's fine. Do it. But don't turn comics into a novel. Because that's not what comics is. That's not what it was made for. It's not made for you to write a novel. Okay, it's made for visual stimulation, not mental stimulation. And I'm not saying you can't have both, but what I am saying is comics is a visual medium. No matter how many people are going to argue with you, because I get this argument all the time. Well, what's more important, the writer or the artist? Writer or the artist? Blah, blah, blah. First off, an artist will always be more important than a writer in comics because you can tell a whole story with just pictures. Okay. Let me tell you that right now. I don't need words to tell a picture. Tell a story. I could do 20 pages of art telling a story. And if you don't believe me, you can look at some of the people who do storyboarding. Okay. They don't use any words. Their whole job is to tell the story without words. Okay. That's their one job. Okay. And so the medium as a whole is a visual medium. You can't go, well, if you take the art away and just put the words down, it still works. Well, yeah, but then it's not a comic. you've got a novel. You don't have a comic anymore. You take the art away and all you have is the words sitting on the pages. Guess what? That's not art. That's not a comic.
I'm fine sitting down and reading a novel too.
Well, yeah, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with writing a novel.
Besides, that's fine. I got a new bookmark with the Kickstarter I got in today, so
well, there you go.
I can put it right in the novel. So,
well, and again, I novels are great. It's knowing your medium. If you're going to write a novel, then write a novel. There's plenty of people, like you said, there's plenty of people that'll read novels. Dude, I buy Mike Barron's novels all the time. Anything he does, I buy it. So it's like, novels are great, but to think that you're going to do comics and make it into a novel, it don't work. You're killing the medium is what you're doing. It's like, not to mention the hard work that the artist actually put doing that page. It probably took him 6 to 7 hours to draw, and you just covered it all up so nobody can see it. That's kind of a smack in the face to the artist. That's kind of like, screw you. I don't really think your work is enough. I'm gonna, and I'm not a huge Bendis fan anyways. I think he's kind of.
I've I've been a DC kid since 1974. And the first team comic book I ever bought off the spinner rack was Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. And I fell in love with those characters and the stories, you know, in the 70s. It's like, it was great. It was like, you know, straight up adventure, character development, you know, it was wonderful stuff. And Bendis comes in with Mr. Hooker by Crook and turns the entire book into a diversity training session.
Well, the problem, man, see, DC has the greatest superheroes of anybody. I mean, look, and I'm not putting anything against Marvel, because I think Marvel have their own, they are more social commentary than DC. DC is more like fantasy superhero stuff. Mm-hmm. Marvel is more realistic superhero stuff. And I don't mean they have to sell realistic, but I mean they play on more realistic ideas like racism and you know, whatever's going on in the culture at the time. I mean, that's what X-Men was all about. You know, that.
Oh yeah.
You know, that it was a social commentary of what was going on at the time. And you know, even the stuff like Captain America, it was a political statement as well as a superhero. But you see, when you have stuff like Superman and Batman, those things were never really geared towards anything other than entertainment and setting a value of what a hero is. And see, I think that's the biggest difference between DC and Marvel. And a lot of times when people compare the two, I'm kind of like, you're kind of comparing apples and oranges. You know, it's like yeah, they do superhero books, but they're not the same. Like it's not even close. You know, it's not like here's a fine example. And a lot of times people get them messed up, but this is my opinion on things. Batman is a vigilante, obviously. That's what he is. But he dresses up as a bat. He uses super gadgets and that kind of thing. Whereas Marvel does a vigilante, and what does he do? Well, he doesn't dress up as a bat. He puts a big skull on his chest and carries guns and kills people. Okay, that's more realistic. All right, it's more realistic that a vigilante would pack an AK-47 and start shooting and killing criminals than a guy dressing up as a bat and using gadgets and not killing people. You know, that's the way you can see the difference between the two. You know, and I think somewhere along the lines it's just gotten lost. Like people think they're competing against one another, and it's like, dude, they're not really competing against each other, because most DC fans are going to be DC fans regardless. You know, they're not going to, nothing Marvel does is going to change their all of a sudden them go, man, I hate DC now, I'm going to go over to Marvel. No, it don't work that way. It's just not, it's not even feasible. Like it's, and the same thing with Marvel. You know, most Marvel fans would go, man, that DC stuff is just too campy. It's not realistic enough for me. I'm not going to just jump brands to DC and, you know, they're going to be my heroes now, because it's just two different mindsets. It's like, it's not the same. And that's how, well, man, especially now with the way the agendas and all that stuff is going, you can really tell how Marvel is so cultural centered, you know. And I'm not saying DC doesn't try, because they do, but if you notice, it doesn't work as well for DC. The stuff don't fit in. It's like, dude, all this stuff you're doing with Antifa and all that makes no sense with Batman. Like, it would make no sense. Batman would not sit back and let somebody burn down businesses. Okay, that's not how it works. Like, it doesn't matter how you like it or not. You know, that's just not the framework that you've put the characters in. You know, whereas in Marvel, you can very well see some of mutants teaming up with Antifa and going downtown and ripping statues down and running people out and marching and stuff like that. You could see somebody like
Magneto
or Rogue or Jubilee or Bishop or any of these characters. You could see them marching with these guys. And I think that's I'm not saying that's good for Marvel. I'm just saying it's the way the platforms are set up.
And on the other hand, you could also see Frank Castle stealing the War Machine armor and taking him out.
Yeah. And that's another thing. Yeah, you could very easily see the Punisher stopping Antifa and not giving two craps about it. I don't know. I hate agenda-driven stories. They never work. Mm-hmm. They're just not. They're not entertaining. And to me, comics to me before anything else is a platform to entertain. If it's not entertaining somebody, then you failed as a publisher.
Yeah, it's supposed to be fun and entertaining. It's not supposed to bring your political BS stress from every social media platform.
Well, I'm not here
into the book you're reading either.
Look, when I do comics, I'm not doing it to preach to you. I'm not doing it because I'm a Christian. So, I could easily write stories that are going to preach to you, but I just don't feel like that's that's not what it's about. It's never been about that. My job as a comic book creator is to tell entertaining stories that you like and you want to come back and read more. Not me trying to fill your head with, well, you got to believe this way, or you're not thinking like your best superhero would. That's just stupid. First off, these characters are not even real, and you're messing with people's mythoses. These are the things that we grew up on and we had, nostalgic connections with, that for whatever reason probably got us through some hard times. I know it did for me as a kid. I know comics got me through some tough times, and I just don't think it's a good thing to take these characters and turn them into something that takes away from the youth being able to have those kind of heroes. Like, I want my son to have somebody like Superman who stands up for truth and justice in the American way, and not someone who's telling them cops are bad and beating up cops. Like, that's not what Superman is, and he's never been that way. And I think in general, people have forgotten why people need heroes. Like, comics is not the first time people had heroes. You can go back to Greece and Rome, and we've always had these super, heroes like Hercules and Attila, and it's always someone, and they were there to give us something to strive for, to be that standard of human being, something that we knew we never could truly reach, but it was still a plateau that it was embedded in us that this is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a good mentality for us to have these kind of morals and heroes. If we don't have heroes, then look, all you gotta do is go downtown to just about anywhere now and look and see what's going on. These are kids that are growing up without heroes. They're told to hate everybody. Their heroes are like Margaret Thatcher. Not Margaret Thatcher. What's her name from Planned Parenthood? The one that created it. But these are heroes to them, and it's like these are not these. They're humans, okay, and they make mistakes, and this is not people to base your moral philosophies on, because they're flawed. And that was the thing with heroes, where they were never flawed. They might have their issue. Now, I'm not saying they can't have problems or can't have a flaw, but what I'm saying is they use those flaws to overcome, not to be looked at as a victim. And now everybody is taught you're a victim.
Oh yeah.
Everything and everybody and everything is a victim. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Any way you look at it, nobody has it good anymore in the world. I mean, it's the craziest thing to me. We live in a country, and a lot of this has to do because people have never been outside of the U.S. And I personally believe some of these kids need to be shipped to the Middle East for about 2 months and let them see what it's like to live in the Middle East for about 2 months.
It's like, go to one of these socialist countries that you're trying to turn my country into.
Right. It's like, and then come back and tell me how bad you got it here. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I mean, I lived in Saudi Arabia for 9 months. And I'm going to tell you, Americans have no clue as to how good they got it. Like, you're just being stupid, and you talk about racism and that kind of thing. It's like, most races in these Middle Eastern countries, if you ain't Saudi Arabian, you're going to be disliked. Okay. I don't give a crap if your skin color is black, white, pink, yellow, whatever. If you ain't, they ain't gonna like you. And it's not just Saudi Arabia. Like, if you go to Korea, I lived in South Korea for over a year and a half, and the Asian culture in general really has a dislike of other races. They're pretty, if you're going to marry, you marry within your if you're a Korean, you're going to marry a Korean. All right. You better not come home with an American husband, because that ain't going to work out, which I don't have a problem with. It's like, that's fine. That's their culture. That's the way they do it. And that's what I'm saying, is people get so touchy nowadays about race and all this. Like, live some, go somewhere and live, see how things are done and how people actually live.
They're offended by everything.
Yeah, it's like, you'll learn that people are not doing things to offend you as much as you think they are. Like, they're just doing it because they live, and that's how they live. It's like, it's not a slap in your face. It's not a, I hate these people, I hate that people, no, it's a, look, we've lived this way for 2,000 years. We're going to continue living this way for 2,000 more, whether you like it or not, or whether or not you think it's right or not. See, that's the other thing is too, is like, it's like, who are you to tell these people they're wrong and doing what they're doing? It's like, I don't know. It's just, and I know in America we live in this melting pot, and that's part of the problem, is we don't really have an identity. We don't have like, our country's not white, our country's not black, our country's not Latino, our country's not, we're a melting pot of all things. So we just assume everybody's a melting pot, and that is the farthest thing from the truth that there is. I mean, I'm even talking Irishmen. Let me tell you, you can go to Ireland, and if you think it's a melting pot there, you're on crack, because I don't know what else to tell you. You're going to run into some walls thinking that way, because it's not. And then again, I don't have a problem with that. I don't know why everybody has such issues with these things. It's like, man, you just got to learn what's out there. It's not all the way America is set up. It's just not. It's not that way. I mean, even in Africa, whites are not liked in Africa. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's like, that's the cultural thing. You're the outcast. You're not the incast. You're not the majority. And I'm not saying people should be hated, but I'm just saying, look, you know, I think we've gotten to a point in our society where we have jumped the shark with the racism and the everybody hates me and I'm a victim. And until we get that stuff straightened out, nothing's going to change. You know, you're going to end up having more. You're going to have more problems than you're going to have it fixed. And I don't think it's ever going to be fixed because the media is not going to allow it to be fixed. I mean, for them, this is how they make money, keeping us at each other's throats. You know, I hate you, you hate me. Dude, I don't have the energy to hate people. I'm too freaking old. I got too much other stuff to focus on that I can't focus on hating this person this week and that person next week. I don't know how people have the energy to do it myself. Like it blows my mind. It's like, don't y'all get tired of, I mean, I'm so sick of the election this year. I mean, I'm so sick of it. Right now, I could care less who wins just because I don't want to see it no more. But I know too, even when the election's over, it's not going to be over. I mean, no matter what happens, we're still going to hear people going at each other. And see, that's what I'm talking about. It's like there used to be a time where it stopped. You know, like there was a lull in the rhetoric. You know, there was a peace among the seas. And we don't have that anymore. It's like it's a constant barking of dogs. You know, it's like that dog in the neighbor's backyard that just keeps barking and barking and barking and barking and barking and barking and won't shut up. You know, and you're just like, oh my God, shut up! I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna get my 12 gauge out. I'm gonna shoot you in the head. Shut up! And it's just gotten to the point where it's. I think it's really messing with people's minds too, man. I mean, I think people have really started to like lose, you know, their perspective on a lot of things, and I don't know, dude. And I hate seeing it in this industry because the industry means a lot to me, or I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. Because I'm not doing it for the money. I can tell you that. Right now, you know, I'll probably sink more money into it than I ever got out of it, which is fine because, again, it goes back to the industry did so much for me growing up, and it's done so much for me too as an adult. You know, it's formed who I am and a lot of my thoughts and a lot of my dreams and you know, desires. And it's just one of those things where I think that the industry is just, man, it's losing its power. You know what I'm saying? Like it's, and I think a lot of it has to do with, I think what we were talking about before, you know, with the agenda and people pushing things that really, I don't know why you know, the whole LGBT agenda that's being pushed. And that's a hard agenda, man. I'm gonna tell you, I've never seen a group of people who push harder than the LGBT ever. And anything I've ever dealt with, they are by far to be a 3% of the whole population of the world. I mean, they have more power and more push than any group. And I'm saying even as from a Christian, you know, I used to think Christians, you know, used to have the power to shut people down. You remember back in the day, back in the 80s, you had people like Jerry Falwell and all those guys that could, you know, we're going to ban this rap song because it's blah, 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 blah. And, you know, they could shut things down. Christians don't have that power now. Now it's on the other foot. You know, now the LGBT has that cancel culture where they can go, you know, this person hates homosexuals or homophobe or whatever, and that's pretty much it for you. You know, that's your business is done. And it's crazy to me how much power we give people. You know what I'm saying? Like how much influence and power we give others over us. It's strange to me. It's like, I don't know. I mean, as a creator, we shouldn't be that way. And I think that's what's going on with DC and Marvel. they're hiring these people who really don't love comics. They don't love the medium. What they want to do is tell these stories that have these agenda-driven, causes, that really aren't good stories. They're not good
like
stories.
That cover that they released for Wonder Woman 84, where she was a heavy-set Latino, small-chested, and looks like she's got the Amtrak caboose on the backside, and it's like, well, this is a brave cover. This is a realistic Wonder Woman. I go,
yeah, that was horrible. That was horrible. I don't know what they were. I don't know what they were thinking.
Up on an island of Amazons, and all they do is train for war.
Well, yeah, I don't.
How did she get to be 250 pounds?
Well, see, all that stuff was a double standard, anyways, because they never talk about how fit Superman is, or how fit Batman is, or how it's always how fit the women look.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's be realistic. I'm never going to look like Superman. Neither are you. I mean, I hate to tell you, but we're not gonna look like Superman. We're not gonna have Batman's body. We're not gonna, which I'm fine with. I never really looked at comics and went, oh my God, I feel like less of a man because I don't look like Batman. Like at no point in time in my life have I ever done that. Yet these women have that mentality of, well, look, I'm never going to look like Wonder Woman, so you need to quit drawing her that way. Wait a minute. That ain't got nothing to do with the way I draw her. It goes back to, remember I was saying, the higher standards, that's what the heroes are for. These are standards we might not all be able to achieve, but it's still something we should, strive for. And that's probably one of the bigger problems we have in our society is we no longer want to strive for anything that takes work, first off. Well, if it takes work, well, if I can't get the satisfaction of it in what I call the microwavable society time, which is 5 minutes, then I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to. And instead of showing, throwing it in my face that if I did do the hard work, I could be this way. Well, instead, I'm going to complain about it and make you change the standard so the standard is closer.
Nothing like lowering the bar, huh?
Yeah, basically that's all you're doing is lowering the bar, and the problem is too, you're pushing things that are unhealthy. It's not healthy to be obese. I mean, it's just not. That's not a healthy way of living.
I know. I'm on a diet. I'm losing weight.
And I mean, I know as we get older, that's a totally different situation. I mean, look, man, I don't have my 20-year-old body. It ain't never going to happen again in my lifetime. I mean, even if I sat down and tried, it ain't happening. And
I wish.
Yeah. So look, and that's what I'm saying too, is part of it has to be, you have to understand who you are and what you are. You can't look at things and just automatically go, well, I can't achieve all that, so I'm not doing any of it. Well, obviously that's not what it's meant there to be. It's meant there so you can set a goal and get as close to that goal as you can. That's the point. It's like you strive for what you can do. Like if you can't lose weight, because there are people who can't, there's legitimate reasons for it. But you still strive. You don't become complacent in who you are or what you're doing. And I think that's part of, our standards of living have just went to the toilet. I mean, we just.
Well, 2 years ago, I was just about 600 pounds, and now I'm 385. So,
see, I mean, that's a good thing. You should be praised.
I lost two whole people under 5 feet tall.
Well, that's a great thing, man. You should be proud of that. Like that's not a small feat. That's a Herculean feat, man. That's something to be. And
the problem is I'm still fat.
Man. No, when you were 600 pounds, you were fat. Now you're working. See, and that's the thing, and that's what I mean right there. It's two totally different. It's a different situation if you sit back and you accept, I'm going to live at 600 pounds, and I'm going to make you turn it into that's the acceptable way of living. See, that's because I'm not doing you any favors by doing that. I'm not doing you any favors by saying, man, I don't care if you weigh 700 pounds, you'll be all right. And when you were that weight, you know that you were not all right. I'm not telling you anything you didn't already know. I'm not telling you. See, people want to do this whole, they baby people, man. It's like, dude, you're a grown man. And if I really love you, guess what? I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to butter you up and give you this mentality of, I'm not going to enable you. See, that's the thing. It's like, I want you to be better, man. I want you to be as healthy as you can be. You know why? Because I want you to live the best life you can live. That's what I want for you. I don't want bad things for you. I want great things for you. I want you to be able to go out there and do whatever it is you want to do, whatever that may be. Now,
I mean, I got comic books to read and stuff,
Yeah, I mean, dude, you got to be around forever because it's going to take that long for me to get the next Gungo book out.
Yeah.
It only took me like 3 years to get the first one out. So, hey, what can I say, man?
Well, it's a process.
Yeah, it's a, but I did learn from the first process. So it makes things a lot faster.
Might only be a year and a half this time.
Yeah. I mean, actually, I'm already 3 issues in. We only have an issue and a half left to finish, and the second series will be done. And then I have another one shot with the character coming out probably in the next 2 or 3 months.
And all this stuff you can find out about by liking the next link down there.
See, that was a good intro.
It's on Facebook.
That was a great intro. See, there you go.
Oh, good. Yeah, 35 years of DJ didn't go to hell.
We post all our stuff on Facebook. I used to have a website, but nobody ever went to it. All they did was to go to our Facebook page. So it ended up being, it's like, I don't know why we have 2 different things. Why I'm actually paying for a website when Facebook's is going to give it to me for free, and they go there more than they would, because we used to have web comics we did every week, which nobody ever came and read. It was crazy. It was like we were doing all these kind of things where we were doing each week, each artist in the studio would do a different drawing. Like we would have, like 1 week we were doing the Lone Ranger, and then the next week we were doing Superman, or next week so all of us would do our rendition of those characters. And we never could get anybody to really, like, I had plenty of traffic on my Facebook page, like my personal Facebook page, but I just could never drive people to that website. It was like people they never wanted to click the link. It was crazy. It's like, I don't know why people hate links. What is it with that? Like, it's just funny. It's like,
well, I was talking about something like this to Rylan Grant today, because he's got a podcast, and I'm sorry, Rylan, I forget the name of it, but I follow it, so when a new episode comes up, I know it's there to watch. But he does this thing. You know how at the end of the convention, all you creators would like get together at like the bar or restaurant and talk about everything that happened? Well, basically his podcast is that, because there's no conventions. So it's just like all these various creators, and his
drink and blab. That's what I used to call them.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And he just had a new episode come up. It was like him, David Pepos, Claigan, one of the head editors from, I think, IDW, Stan Sakai.
Wow.
And a couple of other people that I know too. And I'm like, I was joking around and I go, wow, did you break the internet with this one? And we went back and forth for a little bit, and it basically comes out to nobody in the last 2 generations has an attention span.
Nah.
More than 2 seconds, like they'll read a headline, they won't read anything in the article.
No, see, we've been on here for almost 2 hours. Ain't nobody gonna watch no 2 hours of 2 old men just running their mouths back and forth.
we've had people coming in and out.
Oh, me, especially me. I blab on, man. I can get off track quick.
Oh, I'm the exact same way. But now you had a post up because you're looking for people to do stuff. Well,
that actually was a buddy of mine, Kevin. He works for a multimedia company, and they're doing some multi-marketing products. But these products are things like comics and video game stuff and video editing, and it's actually just about every medium you can think of in media, and he's pretty high up in there. I wish I knew the company name, and it's dude, my memory's horrible. But it's a well-known company, and they do a lot of IP resourcing, which basically means they search.
They're the middleman to get it to that high-end platform.
Right. They basically take IPs and they make them to a level where it's marketable and they can sell it to somebody and hopefully make everybody a lot of money. I don't know exactly like the percentages and that kind of stuff that they take from it, because truthfully, like I told you earlier before, I never really got into it to do those whole multi-medium media things. That was just never but I try to help out, as many friends of mine as I can, because he's a good guy and he does a lot of comic book stuff. So I know he's legit when it comes to, he really loves comics and he wants to see the industry do well.
Yeah, he wants to see, comics and gaming and stuff thrive. Yeah.
So I try to help him out as much as I can, and like these are legit positions. So if anybody comes to my Facebook page, they should be able to see. I guess tomorrow I can put it up on my Alpha Dog page. So if anybody comes to the Alpha Dog site, they can see it there too. That way, because I know I set my site to private or friends only or whatever. And I know some people get irritated with that. They're like, man, why don't you make it public, blah, blah. But with the way the world is right now.
Because it's my private page. You want public stuff?
It's one of those things.
Go to Alpha Dog Comics.
Yeah, it's like,
Here it is right there.
I don't want to make it sound like I'm some kind of, I don't know. To me, I just think there's just so much political and agenda and all this stuff going on that I'm real weary about who's on my Facebook page and who isn't. I mean, dude, I probably have 250 friend requests waiting for me that I just don't even, I haven't gone through, because I mean, I'm at like 1,500. When I started this new Facebook page up, I swore I was only going to have like 100 people on there. I was like, I'm only going to have 100 friends. That's it. It reaches 100, I'm cutting it off. Now I'm at 1,500, and it's just like, and I don't know where all these people are coming from. Like, I don't know where they see my name. Like, I don't know if Facebook is.
suggesting
me or something. Like, I don't know.
All it takes is for them to like and friend like a half dozen comic book people. Then it just starts suggesting.
Is that what it is?
Anybody that has anything to do with comics, whether it's
it's really weird to me. It's like
creator, reviewer, retailer.
Because I don't really put myself out there a whole lot. I'm gonna be honest with you. You're probably the only podcast or interview I've done in a year and a half. I mean, I just don't do a whole lot of these because I never really got into comics to be on TV. Because a lot of people tell me all the time, they're like, man, why don't you do a YouTube channel? YouTube, blah. I'm like, man, I don't want to do YouTube. I have no desires in my life to do YouTube. I mean, I don't. And I know that's kind of the way the industry is going now with creators, is that fans want a more intimate relationship with the creators.
Yeah, they want more interaction, yeah.
But for me, look, why do you want to hear me talk for an hour? I mean, I don't have that much that's that important to hear. And plus I could rather be actually drawing or doing or making comics in that amount of time instead of the time I'm doing a YouTube. Now I'm like doing stuff like me and you are doing. That's awesome, and I would do these more often if I could. But I don't know how these creators do these YouTubes where they have a show every day. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how they get anything done. Like, I don't know. I'm so confused. How do you get 15, 20 pages worth of art done when do you not have a life anywhere else? Like, is it?
I don't know.
I mean, what my wife would do to me if that's all I did was YouTube. And I mean, I would never see my kids. I would never see my wife. I mean, I go back to, maybe I'm just bad, and I am pretty bad at like managing my time. I'm horrible at that. I mean, that's just truth. That's who I am. I've never been the greatest at my personal time. Like, I can manage people. If you give me, because I used to be a supervisor, I can supervise people and manage their time wisely. But if you ask me to manage my time, and yeah, I can't do it. I'll end up on Facebook or I'll end up on Twitter getting into some stupid argument that ain't got nothing to do with anything. And before long, you done spent 2 hours on Facebook doing nothing. You basically wasted your time and your day doing nothing, and that's the same thing with YouTube. Them guys are on there. I mean, look at like Ethan Van Sciver. Dude, he's on freaking YouTube. God knows
24/7
a day. Like 4 hours a day. Like, this dude is always on. It's like,
so like I've seen him a few times because I saw like one episode about 3 months ago because he had Graham Nolan on.
Yeah.
And I'm friends with Graham. So when the episode went live, I got summarily tagged because Graham Nolan was in a post. And I go, oh, what's going on here? And I can see it's a video. And I click on the video. I go, oh, it's that Ethan guy that never showed up to sign my Green Lantern comics in Boston. Great.
Yeah. I'm not trust me, I'm not an EVS fan. That's not, for me, I know he is on that freaking YouTube more than anybody I have ever seen in my life. Like, I don't know how that dude functions outside of YouTube. I mean, I'm truly, it's like they live on it. Like it's a drug or something. Like they need that.
So what he did is, I mean, he has taken the Lady Death motto to like the next level, because all he does is like basically the same comics over and over, but with 70 billion types of variants.
Well, dude, he makes so much money off of one Kickstarter. Yeah. I don't even know why he needs to work. the rest of the year.
And Ethan's done the same thing. Like he wrote and drew the like this his newest book. Bringing back his IP from the '90s, Cyberfrog, Wrecked Planet, Cyberfrog 3, Wrecked Planet. He did that issue, and he just kept it up and up and up and up, and it hit. It's hit like well over $1 million.
Yeah, I mean that's like his second or third book that's made like $1 million, and then I don't understand.
On top of that, then he hits up a new like modeling design company that does like D&D stuff and like Mezco style like action figures, and they design action figures for Wrecked Planet. So now he's got another one going for that. And then he took all of his 90s Cyberfrogs and put them together into this big giant hardcover, which is ludicrously priced. But all of his fans are his whole fan base is gonna get re-energized when that goes up like on Indiegogo, and drop 100. They're all drop like $300 or $400 on that because they're gonna want the extra.
Well, did you ever hear the advice Jim Ballot gave out? I don't know. Do you remember Jim Ballot, the guy that used to be that woman way back in the day? He always swore if you could get 2,000 faithful fans, just 2,000, and these faithful fans would buy anything you sold, like T-shirts, sort of like what Ethan's doing. If you could just find 2,000 people, you were set for the rest of your life. Like they would, as long as you just kept out, putting out. Like if you put out a poster this week or a poster next week, they would still buy it. It would still generate income. And Ethan has just taken that to a whole nother level. I'm not a big fan of Ethan. I think he causes drama to cause drama.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think the industry needs that. I think we have enough drama going on. We need peacemakers at this particular point in time. But I got to give it to Ethan. I mean, the dude is making money hand over fist. I mean, he's a businessman. He knows what he's doing. If you're willing to do what he's doing, and that's make a lot of enemies on one side or a lot of enemies on the other side, and always poking the bear or always stirring the nest. I can't live that way. Like it takes too much energy, man. I mean, I just, because like I said, he's already made $2 or $3 million off of doing. How much more you need to make? Like, I mean,
off of one book. Just put it out now. Just put the book out.
Well, I mean, why would I even bother wasting my days on a YouTube when I'm sitting on bank like that? Like what? I don't understand there has to be a point where you've made enough. You understand what I'm saying? Where you've and I'm not saying he can't make more money. I'm just saying find another outlet to do it instead of keep doing the same rhetoric over and over and over.
Oh yeah. Well, like Kickstarter is set up so if you're lucky, you can run 4 of them a year.
Well, yeah,
because the spots are limited, and you got to time it right, and
Well, he has it down to a science. I'll give it to him. Like I said, the guy's a businessman. He knows what he's doing. He knows what his fan base wants, and he knows what to sell them. Okay. Now, I'm not going to be one of those people that goes out and buys, a collection of Cyberfrog, old stories put into one book. That's not me. I'm not going to do it.
It's not me either, because I own all the originals.
Yeah, I mean, but I know that there are a ton of guys out there that will, and he'll probably make millions off of that one too. I mean, it'll be, and he wouldn't have put any kind of work into it. It's not, and I'm not, if I could make $1 million off of selling Gun Ghoul, the same story over and over and over, I can't say I wouldn't do it, but I would, think at some point in time I would just go, man, let's find something. I'm getting bored. See, that's my thing. I would get bored with it. I'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
I like moving forward with things and not.
Yeah, I got to create something else now.
Yeah, not just being stagnant and being the same thing over and over and over and over. I can't do that kind of stuff. It doesn't work for me. And yeah, and I mean the whole Comicsgate thing too, and all that stuff. But I'll tell you something, them Comicsgate guys are making money. I mean, they're making bank, hand over fist. So I mean,
they're making bank because they, like you said, you get 2,000 people, you're set for life.
Yeah, and I mean, loyal fans.
Just about everybody in there, is I can understand the first line of rhetoric he always spits out, except it's not just that, and it was the fact that we didn't want anything to do with the agendas that both, the big two are doing now. I just, we just want to make good comics.
Yeah, I mean, that's all it's ever been for me. It's like, I can care less about.
That's all it is for you. For him, that's what he says, but he's, waging war on like 3 different fronts for whatever reason. Maybe he, was a wrestling fan back in the 80s and, NWO came around and what's his name? Controversy created
heroes in our own story. Ain't that what it is? We're all heroes in our own stories.
Yeah.
It's like, look, I mean, the whole comic book stuff is so stupid anyways. It's like people getting death threats and getting, cancel culture stuff over just stupid stuff, man. It's like, grow up. It's like, I'm not a kid. I mean, I'm a grown man that's done grown man things. I don't play this whole cancel culture, bend the knee
malarkey.
I mean, it just don't work with me just because, look, man, I'm too old to fart with that stuff, man. I mean, it's like I told you, I mean, I'm just who's got the energy to do it? Like, I just don't know where these people get the energy to, because it takes energy to hate people. You understand? Like, it takes it takes energy to hate somebody. And
I think that's why there's so many fronts, between mainstream media, social media, blah blah blah, getting everybody like all kooky in their heads, because it goes, well, they're going to be too tired to do anything, and if it's not like a 3-second thing on their phone, then they don't have the energy for it.
Well, yeah, but see, for me, my answer has always been, if you don't like something that's being done, then do it yourself. See, that's why I did independent comics, because it wasn't that I hated Marvel or DC. I just wanted to do it myself. I look, if you want certain stories, do it what you want. I mean, it's not that hard nowadays. I mean, it really is not as difficult to make.
It's the easiest time in history to make a comic book if you wanted to make a comic book.
It's like, dude, you're fighting. It's like you said, he says he's fighting on these 3 fronts, and it's like, dude, you're not fighting anything now, because I mean, the internet, you can't cancel anybody in comics anymore. Trust me. I've had 2 sides try to cancel me, and yet here I am. I'm still standing. And a lot of it has to do with the fact is you can't run me off the internet. I mean, I guess you could, but it would be awful hard to do. And it's the false standard to think you can stop somebody from making a comic. I mean, you can't do it. You might be able to stop them in getting it into like comic book shops, but dude, comic book shops are dying. I'm telling you right now, if the industry doesn't find a way to grow and change, comic book shops are going to be dead in a year. And I mean, I'm saying you can quote me on that.
I think this year killed about half of the comic shops nationwide. Like,
well,
I think close to half of them are like done.
If they can't find a way to bring these independent books that are being made for Kickstarter and Indiegogo, if these shops cannot find a way to get this new stuff into their shops, I think their shops will die, because people will stop going to comic book shops because they can just buy whatever they want from these creators that are creating new things and not the same rhetoric over and over and over. And they ain't got to go nowhere. It's sent to their home. There's no hassle. There's no look. The writing is on the wall. Like,
I think right now, I think right now, indie comics are bigger than they've ever been right now. I started doing this podcast like over 6 months ago. This is episode 57.
Wow.
And so I've been doing like 3 to 5 of these a week.
Oh, the indie market is huge. And the indie market has a lot of talent too, is the other thing too. It's not like when I was first doing it, where indie guys were not always that talented. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there was a lot of, I went to FedEx and I photocopied 15 ash cans. Now I'm an indie guy, It's not like that. I mean, you have to actually produce a product that looks like a finished product.
And it's not like 20 years ago where you would have to pray that Diamond would let you list your book for pre-orders in the big catalog, and then you would have to, get people to pre-order
2,500 issues, and you have to make sure you pay them for advertisement. Trust me, I went through all that, man. I can tell you the ins and outs.
And it's like, and back then you had to make and print the books yourself,
right,
up front before you could even list it, because it had to be ready to ship in case you got the orders.
Let me tell you, people have no idea like how it was back in the dude. There were some.
It was real work.
Now, man, you got it made in the shape. You got it like so easy. It's not even funny. Like, you're not even. It's not even the same ballpark. I mean, it's not. Listen, there was a lot of times you would go to a show and selling 20 copies. You would consider that a great weekend. Like that was the because nobody ever heard of you. I mean, nobody ever knew what an independent comic was back then. Like, they never knew what, it's not like the internet. They can see gun goal pictures everywhere now. You can go somewhere and see a pic and go, hey man, that's cool. What is that? It's not used to be that way, so there's no recognition of what the characters were back then. I mean, you literally had to be a salesman. You had to be like, hey, come here to my table. Come here. You had to.
Oh yeah.
That snake oil salesman
Yeah, you had to work like a carnival barker.
Yeah, to sell 20 copies. That's what I'm saying. It's like, you busted your hump to sell 20 issues or something. And that was part of building a fan base, though. That was part of, and of course you don't do any of that now, because Kickstarter takes away from the cons, and now all you got to do is drop a link on every Facebook page of person and there you go. You got 100 people advertising for you for free. It's like, man.
Yeah, and every time somebody pledges, the first thing that happens is that the box with the confetti pops up, and they're asking you to tell everybody about this wonderful project you just backed on Twitter and Instagram and Reddit and Facebook and blah 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 blah. And before you know it, you've just done like $50 worth of free advertising for a book that you want to read.
Like, dude, you got people advertising for you now that you never would have had advertising. Like those 20 copies I sold, them 20 people wouldn't have went out and went, man, look at this great comic I just bought. Look. You need to go buy this. You need to go buy this. No, but that's how it works now. Now they buy it online, and then they post it up. Look what I did. And it gets to 100, 200 different more people than what. And that's what I'm saying is comic book shops are going to have to learn that diamond is not the only fish in the sea anymore. They're going to, and I don't know the answer. Trust me, I've really been trying to figure out a distribution, because I think that's the biggest problem for any independent guy right now is distribution.
So here's something I want to bring up, because, and I haven't heard back from them, so I don't know, what's going on with their platform. But Mike and Mindy Wheeler started a platform called indiecrowdfund.com, which is targeting stores.
Yeah, they closed it down.
They closed it down?
Yeah, I don't know the full story. I mean, I was supposed to be one of the guys that launched on it.
Well, I know they closed it down because they had problems with processing, and then they supposedly cleared it up, and it was, it was moving forward again. Then I lost touch with them.
There was some indie guys that they were dealing with that was being very difficult. I'm not exactly sure who. I didn't get into it. I didn't ask because I try to stay away from that drama,
Mm-hmm.
But I also know whenever you deal with creators and creative types, especially with indie guys, because we like being in charge. That's why we're indie. We don't like we don't like supervisors. That's why we're running our own companies. It's very hard to deal with people sometimes that are in that mindset. And I think many of them, they were trying to get something started that was really good and could have really helped the conservative side of the track. I just think people were expecting too much from the get-go. Like everything has to build up. You can't build Kickstarter overnight. Kickstarter didn't just build overnight. Okay, so and some of those people were having good sales. I mean, they'd already sold like $10,000 worth of books off of that in-crowd or that indie crowd fund, whatever it was that many of them were doing. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like they weren't making money off of it. So I'm not really sure what the creators were having issue with. But I know whatever it was, it really ticked Mindy and Mike off to the point where neither one of them want to work with independent creators anymore. So they've pretty much decided they're not gonna.
We tried to help you all.
Yeah.
All unbelievable bleepity bleeps, and we're done.
That's pretty much it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, there's two sides to every story, but I know from experience dealing with creators can be, especially indie guys. Again, it goes back to that whole, I'm in charge of my own product. I want my product to look this way. I want it to be presented that way. If you can't present it that way, then I'm going to, where for me, I'm a little bit more flexible. I'm kind of like, look, you guys are building this platform. Whatever you need from me, I'll do whatever you need me to do. I mean, that was pretty much
I thought it was supposed to basically be an internet showcase where you could show your book in this glass showcase that was their platform, and all these stores that they went to the trouble of rounding up that all wanted indie books because they sell really well. And then
that's what it was supposed to be, because I know for a fact there were a bunch of shops that were ordering from them. So
well, they
set up to where comic book shops were going to order. And like I said, I don't know, and I really don't know who it was, because I would probably call them out if I thought, mainly because, look, man, somebody's trying to do something nice. Don't be a dick. I mean, don't be a butthole.
You ruined a good thing for the rest of us that just wanted to show off our product. And if they liked it, they contacted us. We did a deal. I shipped out a big case of books to somebody, and day over.
Well, that's what I'm saying is they just didn't need. I mean, many of them didn't sign up to be treated like crap by anybody. Like nobody has a right to do that to anybody. So it's kind of like, dude, your ego. I know a lot of people that they were dealing with, and I'm not just saying this. I was probably in the top 4 name wise, okay, as far as recognition. So these other people were not big enough names to be dictating, hey, you're going to do it whatever way I want. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I want to dictate policy. How many books have you made? Counting this one?
Yeah, it's like I don't know these guys. And sometimes it's always that way. You try to do something nice, and people just take advantage of the situation.
Yeah, that's why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, I mean it's.
Well, no, that's Congress. Never mind.
And that goes all the way down the system, brother.
Oh, I know.
It's
but sad. I mean, the parody book that they had done, Boobs. Yeah, how could Boobs not sell?
Well, it did. It sold like $12,000 worth of.
Yeah. Well, you know why? It was the collective down in Florida. Danny talked to the owner of the collective, and that like 10 grand worth of that 10 to 13 plus $1,000 worth of books is all just in order for that store.
Wow.
That's one order. And then like a handful of other people do it, and they were gonna flip all the profits from that book and put it back into that platform.
I personally felt like it was going to be a good platform. I thought it could have done a lot of good for conservatives as well as for the comic book industry in general. Because I think, again, like I said, somewhere along the line, these comic book shops are going to have to figure out how to get these independent. Because if you don't get any fresh blood into the industry, it's going to die. Like it's just going to die.
Like I fully expect my LCS to go down because, and I mean, I love him. He's like the owner of the shop now is like a brother to me. He was originally a guy that was brought in as a manager for the original owner, and the original owner was like, yeah, I'm all set with the comic book industry. So you can either go out and get a real job or you can buy the shop from me. So he bought the shop from him. And this shop has been in business for over 35 years.
Wow.
I found it when I was 15. Started working there too. Then the owner realized I was showing up to do backstock, in the middle of the school day because I'd rather bunk school and go hang out at the comic book store. You can't come in here till after 3:30. You're gonna get me in trouble. But his clientele base now is, for the most part, strictly nothing but Marvel and DC.
Well, that's because Diamond doesn't sell anything else, really. I mean, they do, but they don't. I mean, the market in general pushes Marvel and DC. That's what.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's almost like the Republican and Democrat thing. It's like there's more than 2 parties that exist. You realize that.
Oh yeah.
In reality, we know that. But what are we sold? We're sold
a 2-party system, yeah.
And it's the same way with comics. I mean, because really, people don't even talk about Image anymore. When's the last time you heard anybody talk about Image? And
well, I hear about Image all the time because I get, the PR stuff and all that all the other crap in.
Right.
But the last big news that was something besides, this book's going back to print, and we're doing 30 more covers. Besides that was the Chadwick Boseman cover that Todd did on Spawn that dropped this week.
Spawn. Yeah, no, I do remember that. I do remember that. But I mean, that was a special.
Yeah,
that was a special. But I couldn't tell you any new books that come out from Image. I couldn't tell you the last time I even bought a book from Image.
They've got a lot of big sellers, but it's a key niche. It's like you've got people that are kind of like they're reading like maybe the main stories in DC. So, they're reading, the Joker War, or they read like these 2 or 3 books from DC, and they read like, these 1 or 2 books from Marvel. And I'm like, not for nothing. If you're a Marvel fan and you're not reading the new Hulk series, which is like the best thing that they've done in like the last 10 years, then why are you buying those books?
But you remember back in the day, Image, that was the place to be creator owned. Like, I mean,
oh yeah,
if you
everybody went there.
You could sell 100,000 copies of a book of characters that nobody ever even knew about, never even heard of. Now you're lucky to sell 5,000 copies from Image. Okay. And that's what I'm saying is like Image doesn't even have that power anymore. They've got kind of lost they've lost their identity. They
got lost in the shuffle.
Well, they turned into like a dark horse. They've turned into.
Yeah, they have.
And it's like, and nothing against Dark Horse, but Dark Horse has never been a force in the industry. They've always been consistent. They've consistently stayed exactly where they're at. But they've never changed the industry. They've never given people something where they go, oh my God, I gotta have that. And I know you can say Hellboy, but see, I give that more to Mike Mignola than I do Dark Horse. He could have took that book anywhere and it would have sold. It wouldn't matter if it was at Dark Horse or if it was at Image or if it was at IDW or whatever. Mike Mignola has his own fan base that would have sold wherever he went. So yeah, I don't really consider Dark Horse as that.
His fans will buy no matter anything, no matter what he does.
Yeah, so
even now, his name is mostly on those books, just as the creator. He's half the time he's not doing anything on them. So
well, that goes back to the whole Ethan thing. He's just making money off of stories that's already been done, or because it's you get to a point where you're just tired of really putting in the work, man. You can, if you can dial it in and make $1 million, until fans start demanding more, and that's what's got to happen. And I mean this too. They're gonna have to go to their comic book shops and start going, hey man, I see all this stuff on Kickstarter and they're like really cool books. Like, why are we getting any of this like in the shops? Like, why can't I don't want to have to order it from somebody I don't know. Why can't I?
Almost every single Kickstarter or Indiegogo all have the smart ones all put up retailer tiers.
Some of them do. That's been a new trend. Now, it used to not be that way, but that has become a newer trend where they do the like $200 packet where you can buy something like 20 copies or something like. I don't know how.
It all depends. They play around with it and go back and forth. Some of them will even offer like an in-store signing, but then those guys are like located in Florida, so like, well, we're doing in-store signing, but you have to be within 90 minutes of our base. And
the problem that's going to happen with these guys with the comic shops and the Kickstarter stuff is with Diamond, you know, these shops used to get 55%, 65% off the cover price. Okay. Whereas that meant the creator was making about 40% off of each. Say if I sold a book for $3.99, I was making $1.50 or $1.25 per book after Diamond took their cut.
Mm-hmm. But Diamond wasn't just taking their cut; they were taking a cut from the retailer,
right?
And they were taking a cut from the creator,
right?
/ publisher, and
they took it from both sides. They were getting it every way they could get it. But see, when they're dealing with the Kickstarter, they're not going to be able to get those kind of percentages. Like it's not going to be. You're not going to have a 55 to 60% discount on, but you're still going to make a profit. See, that's the thing, is some of these comic shops are going to have to understand. It's like, dude, you might not be able to make 55% off of it, but you can still make 45%, and you're building your business back up. Like,
yeah, even at 40%, you're still making money.
Right. Even at 40%, you're still making money. So it's like, instead of looking at it, because I'll be honest with you too, and I've dealt with so many comic book shop owners, and I love them to death, but a lot of these people are not businessmen. They are fans of comics, and they just want to sell comics. All right. Mm-hmm. They don't really know much about business. They love comics, and that's what their dream was they wanted to own a comic book shop and sell comics. And so when it comes to the business side of things, they're not always as informed as they should be about things. And so when you tell them you're only going to be able to make 40% off of it, what they hear is, well, I'm losing 15%. You know, I'm losing 50% of my sales. And it's like, dude, you can't. Comics is dying. Okay, this industry is dying. If you don't bend some, you're going to break. Okay, there's not going to be. That's for everybody. It's not just for your one little shop. I'm talking everybody across the board. It won't be the creators, because we'll still have Indiegogo and we'll still have Kickstarter. You're not going to have your shop. That's what's going to happen, is you're not going to have it, because people will be able to go to Amazon or eBay to buy their Marvel stuff, you know. So, and I'm surprised Marvel has not done this yet, and where they've just did an open market on their website where you could just each week order your new stuff from them direct, you know, and not even deal with Diamond and I'm telling you, it's going to come sooner or later. It's going to happen. And if comic book shop owners don't try to figure out a way, and I'm not saying I know the way, because like I said, I've really tried to figure out some kind of way for distribution for these independent books to get into comic book shops, and I haven't been able to find it, because either I don't have the resources or I just don't have the knowledge to do it. But something's going to have to give. Like sooner or later, there's going to have to be something on the side of the comic book shop owners that they're going to have to give in. Like it's the way of the dinosaur. You know, either you're going to give into it or you're going to die. It's not going to be. I refuse to. Well, you can refuse to do it. I mean, but it's like you said. How many comic book shops have already crashed and burned this year? I mean, I can't imagine.
Some big name ones too.
If things keep going the way they're going, I mean, even if by November, you know, everything is turned back to normal, you know, everybody's like, all right, you can get out, you can start doing things. It's still going to take months to recover from this 8 months of not being able to do anything. Mm-hmm. So just because people can go out does not mean comic book shops are going to be okay now. That's what I'm saying, is they don't understand this as the industry is changing. It's like, and the industry is changing. It's whether, like I said, whether we like it or not, because I don't even like it. You know, I like comic book shops. I want comic book shops to succeed. You know, I want to see I want to see many of them open up. Like if I saw them on every street corner, I'd be happy with me. You know, I love comic book shops, but I just don't think they're not. There's no legitimate way to keep them around doing it the same way you're doing it through Diamond. It's just Diamond killed the industry. I mean,
Yeah.
I hate Diamond.
Diamond needs to go under.
And yeah, I mean, they are the worst thing that ever happened to comics. I don't care what anybody talks to me about. I'll tell you, if anybody ever said anything to me about what's the worst thing that ever happened to comics, Diamond. Diamond is the worst thing that could have ever happened to comic books. And they're never going to let go. You know, they're never going to let go until, like you said, unless they go under. And I don't know how he hadn't gone under. I don't know how they hadn't gone under, to be honest with you. I don't know where they're making their money.
I think he's like neck deep in debt right now.
Well, and two, if he does go under again, that's gonna hurt the rest of the industry, because we got no other distribution out there. And these shops, what are they going to do? And this is what I'm saying, in that something else.
If they have to order independently from each publisher, then, you know.
Well, they'll never be able to do it because these publishers aren't even set up to do that kind of stuff. Like that, you'd be mailing out too many. I mean, in New York alone, how many comic book shops are there? I mean, Lord.
Not as many as there were.
It would take forever just to mail out the ones that are in New York. You couldn't do it. That's what I'm saying is, unless you have a distribution center set up, you just couldn't. And that's where Diamond has really screwed the pooch. And it's really hurt us that there's been no kind of competition with Diamond.
Well, you also have the thing with DC, where they had split between the two smaller distributors, and one was Midtown, and Midtown sucks so bad.
Well,
they've never met a book they haven't damaged. You know, kind of like Diamond. But they cut ties. You know, DC cut ties with them, and so now the only distributor they have is LSU or whatever it's called, and so they're like, you can still, if you were getting distributed through Midtown's distribution center, which is of course called something else for tax purposes, you can still order through them through November, but November 1st is the cutoff date, and then you have to open an account with this other guy, with this other distribution center, or you're no longer going to be selling DC Comics.
See, and that's the problem too.
To which the answer from that distributor was, oh, wait, there's more. If you don't order a minimum of $500 a month of DC product, you don't get anything. You have to order a minimum $500 a month of DC product. And if you fall short, I think like 1 month, like 3 months in, if you fall short on any month, they shut you down and penalize you like a month with no books. And then when you start back up again, you have to pay them for all those late books that you now can't sell because they wouldn't ship them to you. So now all of the customers to the DC products went someplace else.
See, that's not very professional. See, and that's another thing. It's like
they're laying this out so it's perfectly timed to screw the pooch, because now the 5G thing that Dan Dio was supposedly going to launch before they booted him, they reworked it to make it so nothing but 2 straight months of no actual issues of any DC comics. There are all these Elseworld stories for 2 months. And does DC tell great Elseworld stories? Of course they do. But most people aren't going to sign up to buy all these Elseworld issues for 2 months. And then all those stores are out of business as far as DC Comics goes.
Well, I don't think those books are going to sell anyways.
No.
I mean
just like any, you know.
The whole Black Batman and the whole.
Get out of here.
The whole freaking Wonder Woman from
Brazil.
The Amazon, you know.
There's already. And that character, that the Brazilian Amazon Wonder Woman, has already appeared in Wonder Woman Annual 4. Just saying.
I mean, I'm just saying it's just these things are not creative. They're not. No. You're not doing anything.
It's garbage. It's all.
I have a problem with them like changing Batman, but if you're going to change Batman, then he needs to be either like Dick Grayson or Tim Drake or Damian. I mean, these are the guys that were Robin, and these were the guys that were meant to take the cow. You know, this whole agenda. Well, I'm going to make him black because it needs to be a black Batman. It's just stupid. I mean, you got Milestone, which has great
tokenizing the characters.
Well, I mean, the Milestone characters are awesome, and they have them at DC. They own all of them, but they don't do anything with them.
They're supposed to be relaunching some of them.
I mean, they're all good. I mean, they're all good characters. They're all good story ideas, and it's like there's no reason to butcher the characters you have established when you have other characters that are as good, you know, but they just need the tread. You know, they need DC to get behind them and push them as like good books and put, you know, good artists and good writers on them, and you know, instead of going, well, we're going to cheap out on it and just make Batman black because everybody will buy Batman anyway. So, you know, it's just stupid, man. It's like at some point in time, I would think black people would get tired of being just treated like second-class citizens. Like, look, man, you don't even deserve a new character. We're gonna sell you this regurgitated nonsense, and it's like. It's horrible. I don't know why they do that. Like, I don't know what in their mind where they think that this is a good idea, and it's just not, man. It's like, man, people deserve better than that. It's like, especially from DC. Like DC, man, you're supposed to have all these ideas.
DC had the first black superhero with Black Lightning.
Well, dude, like I said, they have so many great black characters as is. It's like, I just don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand where they're going, why they felt like this was a road they needed to travel down. And, you know, again, it goes back to agenda driven. You're acting like you're really doing something, but you're not. You know, you're not really doing anything for the black community by doing this. If you really want to do something for the black community, then give them real heroes that they can relate to and that are, you know, good characters. Quit giving them regurgitated nonsense. You know, it's like it just doesn't make it. And Marvel does the same thing. Marvel you know, it's the same. It's easier for these people to change characters, like if because they know, one, real comic book fans are not going to buy a brand new gay character. I'm telling you that right now. It's not going to sell in the market. So what do? They take a character like Iceman and they turn him gay because they know he's already got a fan base. You know, it's like, and they know they might lose half the fan base, but if they can sell it to, you know, the other half, well, that's still half more than they would have had if they had created an original character that was gay. And they can still say, hey, look, you know, we have gay characters, you know.
They did the same thing with Alan Scott, Golden Age Green Lantern.
Yeah, I mean, it's all a facade. it's all this idea of, first they want you to believe that it's something that needs to be in the market, which it doesn't. It doesn't need to be in the market, because look, me and you have already said this time and time again, if you want to make a comic, you can make a comic. All right. There are plenty of gay creators out there. If they want to create gay comics, they can do it and they can sell it. All right. It's that simple. There's nothing magical, whimsical, or difficult about it. You know, this idea that the only way a gay comic is going to sell is if DC or Marvel turns one of their main characters. It's just stupid, man. It's the dumbest thing I have ever in my life. It's like going, you know, people don't really care about the sexuality. Well, if that was true, then why do you need to change his sex? Like, there would be no reason to change him gay if people didn't care about the sexuality of characters. If that played no prominent role in what the character does.
They brought the modern Batwoman in.
But yeah, she don't sell any books.
And you know, she was gave right off the bat. She sold during the New 52 run, and after that initial run, it's like, yep, the thrill is gone. We're good.
Yeah, I mean, it's always you'll get that new sticker sale, you know, which is like you said, it's we got to buy everything because it's new, you know. But once that's said and done, nobody. I mean, how am I going to relate to a lesbian Batgirl or Batwoman? Look, man, I don't know nothing about no lesbian Batwoman. And so no story that she's, you know, you tell that's going to show me what her struggles are or whatever, I'm not going to relate to. I mean, that's just not, I'm not going to relate to it because I'm not a lesbian. I'm not, you know, it doesn't work that way. And that's what main characters are. You know, these are the people we relate to and, you know, we share the story with. You know, these are the characters that we go, man, I could be like Spider-Man. I know what it's like to have a blue collar job and being treated like crap and, you know, just want to be doing the right thing. And see, we can relate to that. But now if you said, but Peter Parker, he loves all these white dudes and you know, he sees all these guys as sexy. Well, no, I wouldn't understand. No, if you try to put him into a romantic situation where I could not relate to that. I'll be like, no, that's sick. I don't want to relate to it. Like it's not, and that's my point. Is like you can't force this kind of acceptance. Well, maybe it shouldn't be acceptance. I don't know what the right word to be because it's just relativity. Is that what I mean? Like, you know, it's just not.
Yeah, they're
relevant to me.
They're pandering to a certain crowd of people that.
Well, they don't even buy comics.
For the most part, you know, just like all the vegans screaming about, you know, McDonald's needs to have healthier options. Why? You've never eaten a McDonald's a day in your life. Shut up and go back to Whole Foods.
Yeah, go to Whole Foods. Why are you trying to ruin it for the people that eat McDonald's? Why does that bother you so much? Like, why does it bother you that I need a white heterosexual Batman? Why does that frustrate you so bad? Like, what is it about me having that role model that ticks you off so much? Like, why do you feel that I have to have a gay role model? Why? I mean, I don't say you have to have a Christian role model. I don't go around saying, hey, you know, if you're not reading straight white men comics, then, you know, you need to be. You know, it's just, it don't make any sense to me. It's like I understand to some point they're trying to get people more accepting, but I don't think people go around hating gay people anymore. I mean, it might used to be that way, but dude, it's not. I don't know not one person that hates gay people in my flock of friends. Like I don't know I just don't know these people. And
well, because it's because nowadays, just about everybody's got a relative somewhere down the chain that is.
well, it's not just that, but see, to me, it's like I just don't care. Like I don't care what you do.
I don't care either. You know, it's like
do what you want to do. But what the problem comes in is when you're trying to force me to say that it's a natural thing, and I'm never going to say that because it's not natural. It was never meant to be that way. But now, again, that doesn't stop you from doing it. You can do whatever you want to do. But and see, that's where yeah, well, yeah. But I mean, it just goes back to I don't know. It's crazy to me, man.
It is, but you know, it's them pandering to various groups that are the loudest on Twitter.
Well, yeah, the mentality that Twitter is actually real life. That's the other thing that's really stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Like Twitter is not real life. Like real mature people don't live on Twitter. Like that's just Twitter is filled with.
I go on Twitter to share this stuff.
Yeah, that's all I do too.
Yeah,
like if I'm on there,
I'll share the links. I'll tag our sponsor, Spinwiz Comics. Anybody else? Like I've done I didn't think I did this many, but apparently, like last week, I did like a half dozen of what I call 5-minute reviews. They're never 5 minutes. But,
nothing every 5 minutes. You realize we've been on here for almost 3 hours. Ain't that crazy?
That's what happens when you get a couple of old Gabby guys. But it just goes with that mentality, and a lot of it is just keyboard warriors, which is where you got the all this cancel culture crap. And the only funny thing about cancel culture is now it's going around a full 360 degrees, and it's biting the people that started it.
Well, yeah, I mean, they always eat their own.
Right in the rear. So, it's like, oh, you're going to feed on yourselves now? Okay, go ahead. We'll be over here doing whatever.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And, it always, dude, you're always going to feed on yourself. I mean, sooner or later, you're the snake that eats its own tail. And, I mean, you can't be, and this goes back to being negative all the time and always hating people and always pushing the hate. And, if you don't stop doing that kind of stuff, it bites you in the rear end. I mean, it literally, it will consume you to where everything is hateful. Even the things you're supposed to love becomes hateful. It's an evil beast, man. And I mean, America right now, we're in the midst of it, brother. Like everybody is supposed to hate everybody, and everybody's a victim. Everybody should be millionaires, and everybody should be,
Every day I stick my head out the window and wonder what chapter of Revelations this is.
Brother, I mean, I'm this year has been an eye opener. If people haven't opened their eyes from this year, I don't know what's going to open your eyes. Like, I don't know. I have no clue. Because I never thought I would live in a time like we're in right now. I never, in my 49 years of being alive, would have thought America one would have riots like we have in the streets, and two,
and they're letting them get away with it.
Yeah, nobody's being arrested and nobody's going to jail, and and this goes for all our political people too. They get away with crimes every day that me and you wouldn't have gotten away with, and it's like there's just no justice. You don't see any justice anymore in general. And I think that's a bad thing for any country when there's no justice. You as a society, I think you start going, well, what's the point of me following a law? If nobody else is going to get convicted for it, then crap, why don't I go out and rob from Walmart? Why don't I loot and say it's for this reason or that reason, or And I don't know how to fix it because I don't think the media will ever allow it to be fixed because it'll take away from their power over people to do it.
So in Pennsylvania, because they've had the riots there for like the last night or so. If you walk down the street without a mask on, they will fine you a couple of $100 and throw you in jail. But if you get together with a bunch of people and rob a Walmart and set it on, rob everything out of a Walmart and set it on fire, then pretty much nothing happens to you because,
But I mean, and again, it's like we don't have any common sense anymore. Like we've just completely lost any kind of notion of common sense. Like it's
we're living in a complete reality where all these kids have grown up. Quite a few, like as far as the rioters go, most of which with no father figures, and have never been told no, have never been disciplined in any manner, and it's insane to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've reached a level now where I just don't. And like I said, I don't know how you're going to fix it. I don't know. Look, man, either way the election goes is going to be bad. Either way. I don't care if Biden gets elected, these people are going to riot because they know they can do it now and get away with it. There won't be any repercussions.
Oh, yeah. That's why they're doing it now.
Yeah, if Trump wins, well, they're going to riot because Joe Biden didn't win. So, look, you're not going to – either way, you're screwed. Like, there's no win to the situation. It's and a lot of it is, and I actually blame Donald Trump for some of this because I think some of it has gone on a little bit too long, and I think some things should have been handled on a federal level because these governors, granted they have power, but we have the FBI. We do have some jurisdiction over federal buildings and that kind of thing, and I don't know.
They went into Portland because they were attacked. They were trying to burn down the federal courthouses.
Yeah, I mean, and I think,
and they put him in there, but it's limited federal power unless he does what the entire Democratic Party have been threatening that he was going to do, so he could retain his power base, which is to declare martial law in the country.
Well, the thing is, as the president, you're supposed to protect all Americans, okay? And that even means if a governor goes, "Hey, you're not protecting my people." No, he answers to everybody. He doesn't just answer to the governor. And those people who had their businesses burned down, Donald Trump was supposed to be the president that protected their assets just as well as the governor. The governor, to me personally, if you don't obey your oath, then you should be removed from office. Okay. And the governors took an oath to protect the people and to protect their assets. And when these governors pretty much said, don't arrest these people, let them back out, let them do whatever.
Tell the cops to stand down.
Right. Tell the cops to stand down. Well, then these governors should have been removed from office because
they should have been arrested.
You just disobeyed your oath. You're no longer obeying what you were put into office to do.
Oh yeah. Look at Chicago. Lightfoot should be in Gitmo. Just letting people murder each other like every weekend. It's like ridiculous.
I feel bad for Chicago. I think, man, I don't know. Again, I don't know how you're gonna fix all this stuff. Like, I don't think you can, because again, I think too, the media is not going to allow it, but I think, you know, you gotta do your part, you know, and I think part of ours is trying to be positive and not be so mean to people and not, you know, hate people so much. And I know that's hard to do because, dude, I've had so many left-sided people hate me for no reason other than the fact I'm a Christian, you know.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, literally, that's all it is. It isn't a fact like I've done anything to them or said anything to them. It's just they don't like what I believe in, so henceforth they hate me. Which to me, the funny thing is if everybody felt that way, man, I mean, Lord, we'd hate everybody. Like there'd be nobody you like, because not everybody. Me and you are not going to agree on everything, dude. I mean, it's just not. It's not humanly possible for us to be that way. We're not built that way. So this idea that you hate people just because they think differently than you, I don't know, man. You know, and again, it kind of goes back to I wish the comic book industry would take the high road, you know, and I'm talking both right and left sides here. Because like I said, the YouTube stuff, man, I mean, it's just visceral. You know, they just, you know, you want to, this person is this way, this person's that way. I hate this person and blah, blah, blah. This person said this person said that. Look, man, I'm going to cancel culture this person. I'm going to run them out of business. You don't bend the knee to me, I'm going to bend the knee, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and then, of course, you got the industry people like Gail Simone and all those people, Mark Wade, and them. You know, I used to be a huge fan of Mark Wade. I based most of my writing style on his technique. You know, that when I first got into comics, he was like my favorite writer ever. And I mean, he's cost me jobs now. So it's kind of like, and all of it because I'm a Christian and I have conservative ideas. Not that I'm Republican, just that I have, you know, Christian views on things. And it's just sad, man. I mean, I don't understand why we just all can't create the books we want to create and let the customer
decide
what's viable and what's not viable. And, you know, don't get in the path of other people. Help other people out, man. Help all these indie people out. Look, man, even if you don't agree with somebody, if they're doing a good product, man, and if it's going to be good for the industry, man, help them out. You know, put a link on you, say, man, look, this book looks good. I don't agree with everything he says. But man, this stuff looks good. You know, I think the story's cool. I think it could help, you know, the industry. I think if we had more of that and less of
bickering
and just hate. Dude, it's just hate. I don't know how else to say it, but hate.
Yeah, it is. It's straight up hate.
Literal, straight up hate for everybody. And I don't know why. It's like we're all just trying to do the same thing. We're all just trying to create the stories we want to create. And I know a lot of people take it personal when somebody says, hey, you know, you're telling this story, not because you want to tell the story, but because you have an agenda behind it. Yeah, that could be true. But, you know, it also could be true that they really wanted to tell a story that hit on their agenda. You know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that per se, other than the fact that if I don't like it, you shouldn't beat me up for not liking it. You know, you should go, okay, all right. So they're not big into the homosexual romance. All right, nothing wrong with that. I can tell another story, you know, instead of, well, if you don't like this, then you're a homophobe and I got to make sure you're run out of town tarred and feathered. You know, we just don't need that kind of stuff, man. We need more peace in the aisles and And I really think indie guys could do it because, we're indie. We don't have allegiances to anybody other than, our own fan bases.
Yeah, you don't have a corporate machine.
Yeah, we're not
over your heads, or even like some of the smaller publishers, because
right.
just about every sizable publisher has all been picked up by one media company or another for the rights to for the first chance rights to push anything for animation, TV, film, or streaming. So
and most indie guys really do love the industry. They're doing it because they love comics. And I think until we get back to like loving comics and loving, telling stories about people who are greater than what we are and can do things greater than what we can accomplish, then I guess, nothing's ever going to change. Like, it's just going to get worse. And, one thing that'll probably really happen will be the industry will end up dying as we know it now. Like, you just won't see comic book shops on every corner. You won't see, cons. And some of these people who are doing cons, they really need to stop being so political about who they let in and who they don't. And that man, look, again, it goes back to, I shouldn't have to support Biden just to be let into your convention. All right. And I shouldn't hate Trump just to be let into your convention, because you're not helping the fans, and you're not helping the comic book industry by doing stupid crap like that. It's not.
Well, it's not even just that. It's, none of these shows are, Comic-Cons anymore. They're all pop culture events.
Well, yeah, it's turned into that too.
Most of them shove
worlds are the worst with that.
Yeah, most of them shove all the comic book guys like in the second floor, back corner, squish them all together, and then the rest of like this huge venue is Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, comic book shows in general have turned into multimedia media shows.
I mean, I was fine, with the old creation conventions like years ago, and you would have like, one or two, celebrities there. And
yeah, but the celebrities we got, and these were the cool celebrities. We got like the witch from Conan the Barbarian, the one that played the witch that had sex with him inside the hut when he got free. You understand? Well, like, these were really, they were in movies, but they were not like big name people. They were B actor list people who maybe had one role that was on for 5 minutes and had a little comic book following, fan following, or something like that only comic book people would know about, or somebody who was really into Conan would know about. Or it was never, hey, let's get I don't know, Chris Evans.
Let's get the entire MCU there. And they're gonna want like just south of $1,000 to sign their name on a pre-printed picture.
I mean, our MCU was Lou Ferrigno. That was the guest that we had. It was Lou. That was the big name. Lou Ferrigno was a big name at shows way back in the day. I mean, but that's what it should be now. It shouldn't be. If you're gonna do comic book shows, I think you really need to get back. I'm with you. I think you need to get back to doing comic book shows. There's plenty of comic book artists out there all over America where you can do shows. I mean, there's a ton of them. See, the problem is too, is a lot of these shows want to charge artists a buttload of money to come set up now, which is retarded to begin with. When when I first did shows back in, I never paid for the setup ever. You know, that was just never and this was for places like Wizard World Chicago and most of Wizard Worlds I never paid for. And I mean, all that started changing, I'd say like in around 2005, 2006. It was like all these people started charging crazy amounts of money. And it's just like, see, I was at the very first MegaCon in Florida. And I remember sitting up, and Greg Land was set up beside me and the other guys in the studio. And of course, he wouldn't. He was a nobody at the time. Like, and we all thought it was pretty funny because it was like, man, ain't nobody gonna buy your stuff. You trace it off of freaking photos, man. I mean, we'd all sit there and make fun of it. And now look at us. We're the ones that are stupid. He made a ton of money, and we're the dumb ones.
Mm-hmm.
But I just remember that because I thought that was a funny thing, because now, you know, looking back at it, I can see how stupid we were and how he made a buttload of money off of doing what he did. But at MegaCon, we were begged to come. Like, this was their first show, and this was even at a hotel. It wasn't at a convention center. It was like I guess it was a convention center, but it was a hotel convention center. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, they're a little different. So, and we went there for, man, I know 3 or 4 years straight, and we never paid a dime. And we were always one of the original people. And then I stopped going to shows, and I started going back around 2005, 2006, and I contacted them, and they were like, yeah, you know, if you're going to come and set up, we'll need like $300 for a table and blah. I was like, are you kidding me? I mean, I'm not saying I'm a big name or anything like that, but I was there from your beginnings. You know, I was there when you were nobodies that couldn't find people to come to your show, and I helped you out. And this is how you treat us. Like, I don't know. It just kind of just sit bad with me.
Yeah, they raised their price more and more, and I mean, you know, and even like 8 years ago when Alternate Reality first opened up the first Rhode Island Con, you know, people, you know, and I was one of the people. I was waiting in line like 6 hours just to wait in another line.
So that's not right.
You know, not even getting in, and you know, you get up to the ticket window, because some of us were stupid and didn't advance buy tickets, and not including the Ticketmaster fee on top of everything and the tax, it was like $50 to walk in the door. I got to be nuts.
Well, see, that's another thing too, is the prices have got. Well, you know, that goes back to what you were saying about the movie people taking over. You know, they pay these guys so much money to come to these things that in turn they turn around and charge the artists who aren't making as much money. You know, they charge them to set up, and then they up the price for fans to come in. And then of course they charge the fan for a photo to get signed and everything. It's like, dude, it's such a racket now.
Yeah, the worst thing besides Hollywood taking over, I think the worst thing that happened to conventions was the photo op company, where they took to you guys aren't allowed to take any pictures, even though you want to snap all kinds of pictures with your cell phone. You can't do any of this. You have to pay us. And every year the price went up and up and up. Like 10 years ago, I went to convention here in Mass, just south of Boston, and they had Hulk Hogan there. It was $100 to get your picture with him. It was $100 for an autograph. It was $100 for everything. And you know, they put him in a private room, like in the middle of the place, with the doors closed. The line was literally like a mile long. It wrapped around and went out into the hotel, and it was 4 lines deep. They had so many people. It's like the line was going around the building like 3 times. So they're like, okay, we're gonna make 4 lines, and it goes boom, boom, boom. So you saw him for like all of like each person saw him for all like maybe 60 seconds, if that. You know, if you weren't getting a picture, he'd sign an autograph for the $100. Hand you the autograph, shake your hand, nice to meet you, boom, gone.
See, I don't think autographs should cost you money. See, that's dude. The last show I went to, Val Kilmer was one of the bigger, and I've actually never seen him at a show, so I was kind of like, man, you know, I actually would like to get his autograph. And they had a bunch of tombstone posters people were selling that you could. I was like, man, how cool would that be to have a Val Kilmer signed tombstone poster hanging up in your studio? That would be awesome. But dude, his signature alone was like $150, and you had to pay something else too. By the time it was all said and done, it was going to be like $225. And it was just like, maybe it's just me. I'm not a big enough fan of people to think somebody's signature is worth $225. But I don't know.
No, it's not you. I call bullshit on it all the time.
I didn't see a point. I was like, but let me tell you, I mean, he had a line. Don't get me wrong. That dude was.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he was, and I always thought, I was like, man, if he's making that much money per person, there is no telling how much money he made at the end of that show. Like, I mean, he probably made more in those 2 days than most of us make all year long. I mean, it literally was that kind of line and that kind of.
Well, look at before he passed, look at Stan Lee.
Oh yeah, Stan had huge.
And towards the end, it went from. I remember one year it was like he was going to Boston, but not Rhode Island, and he was charging like $50 a cig, $50 a pick, and then he shows up to Rhode Island, and it's between $100 and $200. If you want like a signature in a picture, it was like $150 plus the fee you have to pay the photographer, and plus the fee.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was the photo fee with Val Kilmer. Like that was an extra.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I went to $225 or something like that. But it was real crazy. It was just like, look, man,
it's ridiculous. Like
$225.
Chris Evans and those guys, they want like $700 or $800.
I mean, that's half a work's week. I mean, that's half a week's worth of work. $225. Most people only make $500-600 a week. That's a lot of money to be giving away for a photo and a signature. Like, I don't know.
That's ridiculous.
Man, buddy, I think I'm gonna have to get ready and head off.
We've been chatting way too long. So quickly,
fun, brother. I hope you have me on again sometime. I mean, it was fun.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
Yeah.
Tell everybody what you got going on at Alpha Dog Comics before we take off. And
well, I can give you an exclusive if you want an exclusive. You want me to tell you something exclusive?
I always want an exclusive.
Me and Chuck Dixon are working on a new book together.
Sweet.
Yeah. So nobody knows this. This is the first I've announced it to anybody. So that's one of my big things going on. But I'm also working on a book with a guy named David Furr and Ben Dunn from Antarctic Press. That's supposed to be out, Lord knows, I want to say February, maybe March. I got a lot of stuff going on, and plus I got our own books. Like I said, the Gun Ghoul book is going on. I don't know who's going to publish it, or if I'm just going to do it. I hate doing Kickstarters because I'm doing the whole fulfillment thing. It just takes up so much time. I'd rather have a publisher that handles all that stuff. But we'll see. But it's a lot. I mean, I got a lot going on. I can't complain. I'm staying busy. I don't know why. I mean, I'm blessed in that aspect that, like I said, and Chuck, I've always dreamed of working with him. He's one of my favorite writers. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. And it's called Sister Supreme. It's kind of like a mix of Dexter's Laboratory and Powerpuff Girls. I don't want everybody to think, man, that's how it's going to look, but that's kind of how the story is. Basically, this boy who wanted superpowers, and he was like Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory. He created this machine to give him superpowers, but his sister walked in and ended up getting the powers instead of him. So now, he's kind of, he wants the powers, and it's kind of this whole sister brother, economy type thing going on with each other, and
sibling rivalries,
and it's I don't think any book out there is like it right now. So yeah, so it should be fun. And the Ben Dunn book I'm working on is called Swampland, and it's kind of it's a book set in the bayou of Louisiana, and it's got superheroes and magic, and I mean, it's kind of all over the place. So if you like everything,
there's something in there for everyone.
Something in there for everybody. So it's not a book that's being done. I try to do things that aren't
all over the place,
or all over the place, because I mean, I don't really see a point in it or a value in doing another book, another Spider-Man book. I mean, but so I'm having fun doing them, and when they start to get released, man, you'll have to let me on here, and I'll get you some artwork and stuff for it. And
oh yeah, just hit me up anytime. I'm always poking around my phone on my computer.
And I appreciate you, man. I appreciate what you're doing for the industry and putting yourself out there and getting all these people in here and getting them excited. I mean, we need more of it. We need more love, man. I know that sounds like a hippie thing. I ain't trying to be a hippie. It's just, I'm so tired of seeing so much negative and hate from everybody. It's just
too much hate. We need comic book love.
Yeah, you do. You need some good books that don't do anything but entertain and has great artwork in it and has great writing in it and things you want to bag and cherish and not because of value, but because you cherish them that much, not because you think you're going to make $5 million off of them in 20, 40 years, but because they hold a special place in your heart, and that's what we need to get back to, man. I mean, I hope we can get back there. I think people like you doing the things you're doing, that helps. I think, again, doing more shows that are not geared towards tearing people down and not geared towards, bad mouthing people or starting drama or stuff. I think that's really what.
Just trying to keep the positive side of the comic book community going.
No, and it's a blessing, man. I appreciate you. Just so you know, I appreciate you having me on here, and I appreciate the time you spent with me. And I know it's not easy for you. I'm disabled too. I know I don't look it, but my issues. I got them, so I feel your pain. I know what it's like to have to muscle through stuff, and you really have to love it to do it. And keep up the good work, man. And if you need something I can do that, all you have to do is ask. I'll do what I can do. And again, have me on again, man. It was fun. Wasted 3 hours. My wife's already in bed. She done turned out the light. You see the light?
Yeah, I saw her walk through like hours ago now. Well, I want to give a big shout out to our sponsor for this video, SpinWiz Comics. SpinWiz Comics is a webcomic and indie comic discovery platform.
That's what
it's free to download on both iOS and Android. It has over 86 independent publishers on it right now, with well over 400 titles, new titles added every week. Sometimes just a few, sometimes more than a few. So there's hundreds of comic books to read on there, and most of them are completely free to read.
Man, how
you can download an app and you can read some great free web and indie comics. Not just that. They have a loyalty reward program. Every page of comics you read while you're signed into the app, you get one entry into their giveaways. They do a giveaway monthly, quarterly, and yearly. So go check them out. SpinWiz Comics at spinwizcomics.com. Download the app, check it out for yourself, write them a nice 5-star review. We're trying to get up to over 100 downloads and 5-star reviews this month. And this is what it would look like on your smart device.
Ta-da. Yeah, that was nice, man. Send me the link to it, and I'll put them up on our Alpha Dog site.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll send you the link. After coffee tomorrow.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So I want to thank our guest Will tonight for hanging out and just chatting away with us for hours.
Yeah, bro.
We had a blast talking, comic books here, there, and everywhere. And I'll be back tomorrow night with an episode of OK Boomer. We're gonna dive into Superman 199, the first Flash versus Superman race. And then Friday, I'll be back with more guests on another episode. And until then, I'm Will. You can find me at JokerFan on Twitter or JokerFan1969 on Instagram. And Will Claigan, you got to go find him.
I'm all over the place, brother. You look up my name, you'll find me anywhere. I'm everywhere.
He's everywhere, but the link is right here. You can follow him at Alpha Dog Comics, and you can jump over to Amazon, and you can get Volume 1 of The Gun Ghoul right there. So all the links are right there. Follow him. Check out Alpha Dog Comics. Until next time.